and your children are turned into mindless vassals who now they look up to some twit instead of looking up to Thomas Jefferson or looking up to Nikola Tesla or looking up to Magellan. I mean, kids, Magellan's a lot cooler than Justin Bieber. He circumnavigated with one ship the entire planet. He was killed by wild natives before they got back to Portugal. And when they got back, there was only...
But why? $22 million in 3 fucking hours!
There is no nobility in poverty. I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time. The real question is this: was all this legal? Absolutely fucking not.
Neither go towards the feeding grounds at the edge of the ice, nor return to the colony. Shortly afterwards, we saw him heading straight towards the mountains, some 70 kilometers away. Dr. Ainley explained that even if he caught him and brought him back to the colony, he would immediately head right back for the mountains. But why?
What's your dream? To go away.
To go away. That's right.
Do you guys want to drink? I don't understand why everybody has to be so judgmental. I understand why mom's judgmental. I think it's because she cares partially. I think it's also partially because everyone else is looking at her like, hey, Cody's just a bum. Cody's this, Cody's that, Cody's this. Cody's me, bro. Let me be me.
Yo, GMCG boys, welcome back to the show. Happy Friday. Oh my gosh, it's Friday already.
It's Friday. It's crazy. Friday. Like time flies, dude, especially when you're having fun.
Oh, isn't that right, Jill? Let me get some of these links out and this quote tweet out. I'll let you kind of freestyle for the next 5 minutes, but we got a good day.
Got it. Guys, we got a solid stream lined up for you today. Let's we'll talk about that here in a sec. So schedule for today, like a little bit of a late start today. We apologize, but we're here. We're live. Appreciate you guys tuning in. So schedule for today, we have our first let me see who we have on first.
Railgun.
I believe we have Railgun and Extra today are the two projects. So we have Railgun coming up here in the next couple of minutes. They'll be joining us. And then we have Extra. Last week, the Extra chart was going crazy. We got a ton of requests to get them on stream. So that we did. And we'll be kind of digging into the lore and everything that they have going on and everything that they're building over there. So that'll be the two interviews today. We don't have as much time for like too much macro. But I'll cover some stuff here real quick, and then after the interviews, we'll go into on chain. We'll look at some price action on the macro side. But for now, let's take a look at our Bitcoin chart. Honestly, like not really too much as far as changes are concerned. I mean, we're still looking for that bottom to form in the green box, looking for us to kind of dive deeper in the green box. But I did notice that yesterday we did close this SFP down here. So, maybe we end up pushing up here and then coming back down. But I mean, this SFP right here, bang, right there on the daily. I wonder if that's on the 2-day as well. Yeah, that closed on the 2-day as well. So, all right, not bad, not bad. So that's what we have on Bitcoin. As you see, the title of the stream today: bottom signals everywhere. Solana leading the charge. Here's the plan. When you look at Bitcoin, you see again we're forming we're trying to go sub 60K, but we're really only wicking below 60. We see a ton of strength on these bounces across the board, Sol being one of them. We talked about Solana. I don't really use RSIs in my trading, but I have seen the weekly bullish divergence on Solana. So if we go to the weekly chart, and I don't even think I have the RSI indicator on my on my trading view. So we can't look at that. But what we can do is, I did let you guys know that we are in this 2-month FVG. And it's literally the perfect place to see a bounce for Solana. And so we're looking still waiting for the close officially. I believe the 1 month and the 2 month will be closing both in 4 days. And if we get this SFP, I'm going stupid long on Solana. And the target at the very least, it would have to be at least $100. That would be my target. I mean, on the 2-week, we see bang on the 2-week. We see that's the local range that we're dealing with right now. Let's see. Let me just do one last thing. I just want to make sure. Yeah, that's the dealing range right now. And we've kind of been going down for months and months and months on Solana. So excited to see what happens to both Sol and on chain when Solana starts to really turn around. I think we can target. I think we can target $100. I don't know if we go just straight for it right now, right? Like, I don't know if we just like go straight for it, or if we maybe like, take a trip down and and try to grab at that liquidity down there. And so that's the part I'm still trying to figure out for Solana. But I don't know if you guys saw, our XPL long is doing absolutely phenomenal. We touched on the other day the SFP, the 4-hour SFP. I gave you all the full setup. Actually, I'm actually going to post that might post that on my account here a little bit later.
Well,
but,
and what's the lore with this one? All equity is held by, like, all IP and equity is held by token holders now. I saw this tweet go out and I didn't really look into it, but thought it would be interesting. Maybe something you know more about.
Yeah. So basically the Plasma team came out and said there's no equity. It's only the token. So remember yesterday we had this whole thing with Grass, and it was like, oh, well, is it token? Is it equity? And it's like, well, they don't really, they said that they don't have equity. They haven't really specified, what will be the value accrual to the token, but we know it's something, and they have the holders call. So I think Grass and XPL are in that similar position where there's no official kind of word on, all right, what the value accrual mechanism will be. But at the end of the day, we know that's what the team is focused on, is value accrual to the token and to the token alone. So it's not going to be an Aave situation where, there's some acquisition or there's some or there's some liquidity event and token holders get left behind. So I'm excited to see exactly where that excited to see exactly how this plays out and how the team positions themselves. But for now, still holding on to the long, deeply in profit. I'm also long Hype. That's another one that's in profit. That we literally We literally got on the show yesterday because I didn't realize that, we front ran all this support below. We front ran all of this support below. We had an order block. We had a couple FVGs. We had a breaker block. So I was assuming that this circle will tag this circle somewhere. But hype continues to show strength. Hopefully, did you close your long? I mean, you're short on hype.
Yeah, I did close that.
Solid money.
I did not go long.
Yeah, I flipped long. I not flipped long. I went long on hype because yesterday we saw this 4-hour close and this huge buy up here on Hyperliquid. So when you zoom in, you really see this this SFP here really well. And this was it. This is that SFP. It closed in red there. It closed, and now we've begun the trip to range highs. So that's the target here, purple line and above. Probably going to end up going into new all-time highs, but at the very least, I'm targeting range highs. So yeah, hype is looking good. XPL is looking good. A couple other things are looking well. Still waiting on the grass dip. We talked about this yesterday. Still waiting on the grass dip. It's getting bought up. It's showing a lot of strength, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, because there's a when you look on the actually no, there wasn't a 4-hour SFP yesterday. I thought there was, but we saw this daily SFP in the pullback. Still not convinced. Still not convinced just yet. Grass looking like it still needs to make up its mind. Gito,
So look,
holy moly.
Well, we can't talk Gito before talking Sol. I mean, look, there's one thing leading around. Sol's up 7% on the day. Ansem CTOing it. It's getting bull posted again. It is the strongest major asset right now, up 7%. So the Sol ecosystem, as you can tell by the title, Sol is leading the charge here. If you look on chain Solana is leading the charge as well, held up extremely resilient against Bitcoin and Ethereum and this dump we saw in majors. Sol's now leading on this pump here. And of course, JTO is up 17%, if I just saw that right. 17%, which is crazy, by the way. They still don't have enough revenues to justify this, in my opinion, but it is being CTO'd by Ansem here, so it kind of makes sense. Not just Solana, I'm talking about JTO. He's been bull posting JTO in this perps narrative quite a bit. So that's going absolutely dummy. We did want to pull back. It came to a nice zone, but it didn't come quite as low as I wanted to justify this thing pumping and the market cap. Again, the thesis is strong though. It's take a meaningful chunk or even a small chunk of Hyperliquid's volume here and just give that to native Solana users who want to trade perps. And, they could be they could be a cash cow, frankly. But of course, right now it's hard to say. This is is this going to be a sell the news event when they launch JTX here in a month or two? What is this going to look like? But up 18% today. This is a clear sign, or 19%. And Solana 7% itself. Clear sign Solana is leading the charge here. We can't take too much longer because we do have the railgun guys in the back waiting. But I mean, I'm looking on chain right now. Something we'll cover after we have our interviews. And very resilient, very strong for all our Solana pairs here.
So before we get started with the railgun interview, you guys know that we have to do the housekeeping. Go to @MCG Live on Twitter. It's a couple hundred of us in here right now. So let's all go to @MCG Live. First off, make sure you're following the account. We're here Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern time. Sometimes a little after 12, but we'll be here. Thank you so much for 11.5K. We're about to hit 11.6. That's crazy.
A good 100 a day at this point.
100 a day. You want to go to our pin tweet and you want to hit two things. You want to like the stream, and then you want to retweet, right? You want to like and retweet. Go ahead and do that. And then we can go ahead and jump into our railgun interview here. I mean, we got the guys, the team in the background waiting. Yeah, Dom, if you want to tee this up, or I can tee it up, however you want to do it.
Dude, I will get into it because I went deep down the railgun rabbit hole. Originally, actually, I joined a group with some people that were very kind in helping me do some research on railgun. This is when the privacy narrative is really taking shape. And there's a few things that stuck out to me about railgun. Well, number one, their volumes. Number two, their revenues, both very high. And it kind of brought up this question: does privacy belong at the protocol level, or does it belong, at individual app layer? And so that's the question. We of course saw or protocol level or chain level, I should say. We of course saw things like Zcash, which recently had an ongoing exploit, which was open for years, and no one was able to detect it until Claude or someone plugged an AI into it and basically solved for some bugs and found one and it popped up. And there was this big debate over, well, you have this privacy protocol or you have this privacy layer for the entire chain, and it kind of gives some issues with things like that, right? So poor explanation I did there for Zcash, but it was a big conversation. And I think I came to the conclusion that privacy should be at the protocol level. You should be able to plug it into all these individual apps. And, that's what Railgun's doing. So this is going to be a really interesting conversation. It's going to be surrounding all things privacy. Of course, I want to get into the Railgun thesis and why Railgun's maybe like the best pick to lead this narrative, get into some of the numbers, some of the revenues, some of the metrics. I think they have over $5 billion in shielded volume. So, I mean, just lots of good stuff happening. Without further ado, man, let's pull up Paulio. Hopefully I'm saying that name correctly. I love the name. So let's do it. Let's talk about Railgun. Paulio, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. How you guys doing?
Doing well. My St. Paul is Paulio, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Lovely. We're excited to talk today. As I mentioned, I'm a big Railgun bull. This is one I really got familiarized with when we did see this initial run up of the privacy meta, and I just got fascinated with it. The numbers kind of drew me in, and from there, I think just a thesis around Railgun got me a bit further. But I want to talk about all things Railgun, all things privacy. I think you're the person to do it, so we are excited to get you here today. And with that being said, can we get to know you a little bit better? Who's Paulio? How did you get involved in Railgun? What's your role in the ecosystem? Curious to know all of that stuff.
Yeah. So I got involved in crypto kind of back in 2021, worked on, a mix of DeFi protocols. Then I worked at Coinbase, had a company that I started shortly after where we were tokenizing domain names. So we were like the first ICANN accredited registrar to put real kind of domains, .coms, .nets, .orgs on chain. And then that got, acquired by some of my investors about a year ago. And, I was diving back into, the privacy space because, stable coins were kind of the big narrative. And I'm like, okay, well, where's this going next, right? Like AI has really changed the whole privacy game. Right. It kind of before was, you could hide in just the data, but then, AI made it possible to where you can just analyze stuff for so cheap. Right. And so my kind of thesis was, you got to get into privacy. What's the best way to do that? And I started just diving into the Railgun rabbit hole. So I am building a wallet, Anon, which is a Railgun wallet. And the goal is to just make it easier, A, to use Railgun, and then B, let you use your privatized assets just with normal DeFi protocols, normal Wallet Connect and everything. So one of the big things, right, about Railgun that you were mentioning that's super cool is it sits on top of the chain as this privacy layer in which you can shield, any ERC20s or NFTs into the protocol and then transact privately with those. And the protocol uses, zero knowledge proofs to transfer the assets and to let you do private sends, private interactions. And what we've been, working really closely with the Railgun researchers and making possible is how you then bridge those assets into DeFi so you can, deposit, into a lending vault or go, make a swap really easily or, kind of connect to a site and use those private assets like you were to kind of use a normal 0x.
Got you. Maybe let's get the privacy thesis then. You chose Railgun over something like Zcash or, any of these other privacy protocols. When you think about privacy, where should it happen? Should it be at the protocol level or should it be, a chain? Obviously, I think I know your answer here, but I guess interested to dive into your thesis on maybe why you think a protocol level privacy product is more important than like a entire chain that's private.
Yeah. My kind of thesis on this here is you want some things to be private, but you still want some things to be auditable, public, and trackable, right? If I'm gonna go take out a loan or deposit money into a vault, I want to be able to audit that vault, right? And see, what the health is of it, what assets are in there, who manages it, and kind of all these more administrative things. But I don't necessarily want people to be able to see my individual loan is, tied to my account. So the really kind of, bullish thing, and the reason that, I chose to use Railgun is that they sit on top of the layer, right? So you don't have to bootstrap all this new, DeFi activity. You don't have to move assets to a new chain. You take your existing assets, right, on ETH or ARB or Polygon or Binance, right, where Railgun's deployed, and then you shield them, right? So then you can now just plug into any of those existing platforms from a new privatized wallet. And then like another big thing to look at when you're looking at, privacy protocols is you want to see volume, right? A lot of people are used to looking at TVL, right? Which is more relevant for something like, a DeFi protocol. And you're like, hey, how much money is locked in these contracts? How much, capital trust is there? The privacy protocol is different because you want to see net inflows and outflows, and you want to see something called like nullifier growth, right? And that is basically like how much money is moving through here and what is the, private volume. If you only have, $1,000 or $10,000, of volume, but you have, hundreds of millions in TVL, there's not that much privacy in moving your money in and out of that program, right? So Railgun's got like, I think about 100 to 150 mil a month in privatized volume, right? So you'd have to be doing like, really big size to be detected in that, right? So that's kind of the big metric,
And
that
so
I wanted to.
where a lot of people fall short, and I think where Railgun excels, is what you're saying, is that yes, it might be a private pool, but if there's only $100 of volume and you go and deposit, make a $50 deposit in there, it's going to be pretty easy for people to go and identify, okay, well, you're most likely that person that made that $50 deposit, since there's only $100 of volume in here, and we can clearly track the $50 deposit. Whereas you say, something like Railgun, who's got $100 million plus of monthly volume coming into it, it's very hard to track people because, again, there's so much activity within the pool, you can't really pin it down like you can with maybe lower volume protocols.
Yeah, exactly.
Got you.
What helped you guys to bootstrap all of this volume? I mean, I don't know how long the protocol has been active for, or what's helped you guys to bootstrap all this volume going through?
Yeah, Railgun's been around for 5, almost 6 years, and it's just really been steady, slow growth. One of the biggest growth drivers is this thing called PPOI. And PPOI stands for Private Proof of Innocence. So one of the kind of big problems people have with privacy protocols is what happens when you get illicit funds, moved into the privacy pool, right? If you're a good actor and you're just like, hey, I want to take my, payroll in, a shielded asset, right? So people can't see who's paying me, and people can't see how much money I make. And then like the people, the protocol that pays me can't, see how I spend my money, right? Which is a totally like normal and like legitimate use case. the worry for that user is if a hacker now moves in a ton of money and their stuff gets mixed, and then they can't off ramp that money, right? Exchange is blacklisted or they don't allow it. So like one of the biggest drivers in growth for Railgun was the private proof of innocence, because it adds this shielding deposit kind of window. So when you deposit money into Railgun, it takes an hour for it to have valid proofs generated. And that's when compliance is run on that. And it's not a, KYC, thing. It's like static analysis of the funds. And as long as they clear the PPOI, now you have these privatized funds that you can spend and move around, right? So like the two big things are, volume, but then also like PPOI volume, right? So all of that volume in Railgun is PPOI compliant, right? So that was really kind of what drove the numbers up, is because it made normal people comfortable putting their money in there, knowing that it's not going to get, blacklisted, right? That was one of the big problems with Tornado back in like 21 was, it got sanctioned because lots of hackers were using it and put in bad funds in there. So anytime you withdrew from Tornado, there was always this kind of taint that was applied to your address as like, these could be bad funds, right? Like, why are you using Tornado? If that makes sense.
Right. Could you maybe talk me through, and I know you're not officially on the Railgun team, so I do want to talk about the wallet project that you guys have going on with the non-project. But I guess just to further dig into the lore of Railgun, because I want to fully understand this protocol, can you talk me through some of the upgrades? As far as I'm aware, they made some pretty big upgrades recently. They're going to unlock a lot for the Railgun protocol, where people can start using it in different ways than they were able to before. Could you talk me through some of these upgrades that the Railgun protocol's recently undergone?
Yeah, so there's a couple kind of big upgrades around safety, right? So one is when you were to do a swap. So anytime you want to use your private funds from Railgun, right, in normal DeFi, what happens behind the scenes is you do this bundled or atomic transaction that takes those private funds, it unshields them, it performs the DeFi operation, and then it shields the funds back, right? So the ZK wallets can't interact directly with DeFi, but what you can do is you can unshield them, interact, and then reshield, right? So nobody knows where those funds came from other than it being the Railgun pool. Those transactions are executed and paid by broadcasters. So they're not associated with any of your addresses. And that's kind of what lets you bridge the assets. So, we've been doing a lot of research hand in hand, with the team around how to integrate that safely kind of behind the scenes, so that if that swap or that interaction fails, the user can still recover those funds, finish the operation, and reprivatize. So that's one of the big things. There's a lot of just general work around reliability. The Railgun team's been doing a lot of work on broadcasters, just because that's important for sending transactions and having a good user experience. And then there's a lot of work that's been done with integrating 7702. So 7702 is kind of this, special thing you can do in Ethereum where your address can kind of become a smart wallet. And this is now used for doing the swaps so that they're recoverable, right? So when I was kind of talking about bridging private into DeFi, before that ran through this relay adapt public gateway contract. And, if your operations failed, an MEV bot could come and swoop the assets up, right? So like if you got sandwiched on, a swap, you'd have to kind of run high slippage. But now this uses a, privatized version of that contract so that if those operations fail, you don't have any risk of, funds.
So is this what you're doing here? Are you doing this? Are you using this Kohaku? Is that how I'm pronouncing it? Kohaku is the privacy first tooling, introducing an SDK that allows wallet developers to plug privacy features in more easily. Is this what has enabled you guys to really build Anon Wallet?
So we're helping the Kohaku team. The package is not quite ready. Kohaku is a Ethereum package, that's being built to make it easier to integrate privacy protocols and just kind of standardize the interface. That lets you do, basic sends and shields and unshields. We've been doing a much kind of deeper integration, very focused on the privacy kind of the special things you can do with Railgun, right? So Railgun's different from the other privacy protocols on ETH, in which it's much more composable and it can wrap these assets into the DeFi world and then move them back. So there's some work we've been doing with the Kohaku team just to help with, syncing balances and pulling in state and how you kind of serve this stuff to, lots and lots of users. And then there's a lot of work we've done, kind of that's more custom beyond that to really enable DeFi.
So, quick question for you on that. I mean, you mentioned that you guys were working with the Kohaku team. I saw that Vitalik, he even used your protocol and publicly moved, I think it was like a couple $1 million through the protocol. Talk about I don't know if you guys have a personal relationship with Vitalik himself, or just talk us through your relationship with the Ethereum Foundation and kind of what support they have potentially given you guys, or just how that relationship is helping you push the protocol forward.
And maybe also add how they view privacy as a whole.
Yeah. Let me start with kind of how they view, privacy. So the Ethereum Foundation is a big proponent of privacy and compliant privacy. Vitalik, a couple years ago, wrote and helped, I think, inspire some of the ideas around PPOI and the need for compliant privacy pools, and that being, growth blocker. This was kind of before, my time in this in the space. So I'm, that's about the extent of my knowledge there. But I know that the Ethereum Foundation is very big on privacy. They want to make it much easier to integrate privacy. All of the ZK proofs and doing these complicated actions are complicated, right? And they're hard to integrate. They're hard to develop. And they see the vision that users need privacy. And privacy is a big hurdle, right, for this, next wave of adoption. And anything that they can do to help speed up privacy integration throughout, Ethereum is just a net win.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of protocols that run, one of the biggest use cases for Railgun is payroll, right? So there's some different big, DeFi protocols and DAOs that use, Railgun to pay people. I'm pretty sure like that's one of Vitalik's use cases, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's just kind of general things of like, there's lots of, very valid use cases for, maybe you don't want someone to copy trade you, or maybe you don't want your boss to see, what meme coins you buy, right? After he sends you a check, or
She'll
that
definitely
you're
look at that.
like, yeah, like you like to leverage trade, right? Like, so that's kind of like, that's where a lot of the users come, is they've been DeFi native, they've been, on chain for a long time, and, they value privacy.
So you guys have a ton of obviously you have a ton of volume. Your TVL is up there. Your annualized revenue, as we can see on screen, you guys, I believe, one of the top revenue generating protocols.
And before we go any
Mhm.
further, just to clarify, there is no Railgun team. This is a decentralized platform, right? So you guys are researchers, contributors, and you're building on top of this protocol. So when we say the team, I think we're just referring to Railgun in general, to clarify this. But sorry, continue with your
Correct.
question, Jill, just so people are aware.
Thanks for clarifying that, Dom. I mean, there's so many protocols that you guys are integrated into. Can you walk me through where you guys stand now? How many protocols have integrated the Railgun kind of privacy layer? And maybe we can even get into how what perhaps the Kohaku SDK unlocks for you guys.
And you might be muted, Paulino.
Oh yeah, thanks. One thing that I forgot to mention earlier about kind of like one of the next big releases and updates is going to be hardware wallets, right? So right now, all of Railgun is hot wallets, right? That's kind of why the TVL, is large, but kind of stays where it is people, privatize their money, and then they push it out. And we kind of see hardware wallets as the next big unlock for that, right? People now feel comfortable keeping their money privatized because it's not sitting in a hot wallet. So there's been a lot of research and work done there, kind of hard cryptographic work to make that possible by the ZK Knox team. And that's essentially like, how the Railgun uses different signing functions, and that math needed to be supported on the actual hardware device so that you could generate a proof and then sign the outputs to then process them. So that's not live yet, but it's something that we'll be rolling out in the next couple weeks, just as kind of audits and final reviews finish there. So that's something kind of big. And then, yeah, to your point, yeah, Railgun is, it's decentralized. It's all, researchers, contributors, people that, care about privacy and want to kind of push it forward. Right. As far as DeFi protocol integrations go, there's these things in Railgun called cookbooks, and that are these, recipes for doing the atomic actions, right? So one of the things I started to talk about was, you can't use a ZK address in a normal DeFi protocol. You have to unshield and bundle that operation. So there's a lot of research, that we've been doing around making it much more generalizable and easy and behind the scenes for the user, so that they could just, go to Uniswap, type in their thing, and, open an LP position or make a trade or go to Yearn or Aave, right, and deposit. So, while there aren't a ton of integrations now, this is our kind of big focus on the wallet side, right? And with Anon is how we now start to integrate it. There's been a ton of research on how to make it possible, and then productionalizing that. So like in the wallet, what we've rolled out, which we'll kind of start rolling out some tutorials and announcements about in the next week. But what's live is there's a FX integration where you can borrow money privately. So you can create loans, borrow assets, do those off of ETH or BTC. Then we also have a Morpho integration, and you can take any of your shielded assets and you can deposit them into Morpho markets, into Morpho vaults. And this uses this 7702 concept we've been building, and we kind of call stealth accounts or DeFi stealth accounts. And essentially the way it works is every time you now go to do a DeFi action, you generate like a burner address that only you can calculate, right? So that address has no funding history. It's funded by Railgun. Broadcasters execute the transactions, but it has a public 0x balance, right? And that's kind of the biggest unlock that we're pushing right now. So you can, in the wallet, you can set up a stealth account, and then you can go connect to any DeFi protocol. And we're working on ways to now hide that behind the scenes. So you can just go to that DeFi app and place your trade, and then, it will just bundle the actions and do it all, for you. And there's a lot of little things there of like, okay, let's say I go on to this DeFi protocol, right? Now the user has to say like, okay, let them see that I've got, 1,000 USDC and 2 ETH, right? Don't show them my full balance, just show some of this. And the way that we've made this work is we talk to the DeFi app like it's a smart wallet. And we say, hey, I have funds that aren't in this 0x address, and you might not be able to see them on chain, but, I have them, so I can use them. And, I have Paymaster support. So it's like a lot of the DeFi integrations is built on, research that's been done over the last couple of years, and on all these different incremental improvements, that wasn't possible, a year ago, 9 months ago, and so on.
You know what? I think the big story here is understanding that Ethereum, the growth privacy is going to have on Ethereum. And I appreciate you, breaking everything down for us. But I think that's the story here. And I think what we look for on the show is like actionable trader insight. And we see this incredible growth on the Railgun side, $5 billion all-time private volume. Maybe we could just walk it back a little bit and get your general thesis on, as Ethereum grows or continues to stay flat or whatever it is, how will privacy scale on Ethereum? And what does that mean, I guess, in turn for, Anon Wallet, for Railgun, for all the privacy on Ethereum? Who's going to take the lion's share of that? And I think that's the story and narrative that, I'm really interested in here. So if you have any thoughts on that, I'd be really keen to get those.
Yeah. I think the big thing is, the first step was privatize funds, right? So Railgun lets you privatize any assets. Now the next step is make those assets usable, right? It's one thing to just have USDC or, like Fartcoin or something private, right? If you can't do anything with it, right? It's just sitting there. Like you can send it, you can swap. But, people want to be able to stake. They want to be able to LP. They want to be able to, use a hardware wallet. So in our eyes, that's, where we're going to drive the growth and try to, suck it up, right? Is that There's lots of privacy protocols, but they're limited at just a private token. And now you can just send that private token, but you can't interact with DeFi, right? Ethereum's biggest use case is all of its DeFi TVL. It's all of the protocols built on top of it.
Right.
So in our eyes, right, privacy is good without it, but the only way to grow and really privatize ETH and these other chains is to make it so that your private assets are just as functional as your public assets, and it's very easy for the user.
Interesting. No, I think I do agree with this general thought. Following on to this, do you think we get a lot of institutional capital moving on to Ethereum? I think, in the recent weeks and days, we've seen a lot of equities and traditional markets kind of come to Solana, and that's been, I think, pretty dominant in that regard. Do you think we see institutional capital, enterprise capital come to Ethereum? And with that capital, are they going to be seeking a privacy solution?
Totally. Right. We're seeing, tokenized stocks and equities really kind of seem to be what one of the next big waves are, right? People want to take loans against those stocks, and most people want to keep that private, right? Privacy is a big thing in the institutional world. And when you come on chain, it's, everybody can see everything about your wallet, who you've interacted with, and so on. So, obviously, building privacy tech, we're big proponents of, privacy. But I think as, we just make it faster and easier and more efficient for users to where doing things privately isn't a burden and isn't something where they're, worried about like, oh, if I mess this new complicated thing up, I'm going to lose all my money. That we'll see another, big wave of growth.
Got you. Yeah, no, fascinating answer there. And I do tend to agree with you. And I know, again, you're doing Anon Wallet, so I hate to keep throwing these Railgun related questions at you, but I do want to get a better idea and understanding of how investable is this token, right? It's a decentralized organization. I think 50% goes to buybacks. They did $4.7 million annualized revenue last year, which is far beyond all the other privacy protocols. Do you have any insight on, how the token receives some of those flows, how people should look at, I guess, ownership over the Railgun protocol, and since it is a decentralized network?
Yeah. So the way, the Rail token works is if you own Rail, you can stake Rail, and then stakers get, I'm pretty sure it's 40% of the fees, right? So as, fees go up, that gets returned to stakers. And then the other 60% goes to the protocol treasury, which is then, can be given out in grants for researchers building on top of the protocol or driving different protocol upgrades. Railgun and, the Rail token are very much a true DAO in which new contract deployments, governance, all that stuff happens on chain. Right. And, if you're staking, you can vote on protocol upgrades and so on.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like, I'm pretty sure the number is stakers get, 2% bi-weekly. So it's not a daily thing. There's windows and it happens twice a week where fees get pushed back to people staking.
Cruise stakers. Okay, very interesting. And then to close this off, I know Chill's got a question on quantum if you want to dip your toes in that whole conversation. But before that, I just want to touch on like total addressable market here. Again, like this feels like a bit of a growth play, where we have an investable token check. we have a strong narrative. What's the total addressable market here? We talked about the growth of privacy on Ethereum and how you see that happening. Could you maybe tell us in your mind, like, what is the total addressable market that you think Railgun and on wallet privacy, I guess, as a whole, is set to cover on Ethereum?
Yeah, there's a lot of things, we're working on. We talked a lot about DeFi integrations, right? The goal there is just to make it so that, DeFi can happen privately, right? There's tons of volume on ETH, normally, whether that be trading, lending, yield products, vaults, LPs. Our target is to just privatize more and more of that. There's other things, we're looking at with, like, how do you kind of give a user like a neobank like experience with their private assets, right? How do you let them have private assets, but now offboard them and send them to their bank, pay their card with them? How do you make it easier for companies to run accounts privately, right? How do I send, an invoice to someone and then have that be, privatized when it's paid or done privately? There's a integration we're working on with the ENS team to make it so that you can, privatize your name and have all your deposits or money sent to that name, be private. And then we're also working on, a mobile version of the wallet, which will, let you use Railgun on your phone, which is obviously another big thing of just, how do you kind of meet users where they are, and a lot of people like to use crypto on their phone. That was one of the major growths with Solana is, a majority of their users are, mobile first. And they just, want to trade meme coins, or they want to do these things. So it's how do you kind of do that and, let them do that privately.
I think you're muted there, Dom.
Oh, thanks, Chill. Do you think that's applicable to Ethereum, though? I mean, Solana's like, I think very much so become the retail chain as we know it. And I think with that, the demographic becomes people that use their phone to trade a lot more. I'm not going to call them less sophisticated investors. We're largely a Solana-based show. But with that being said, like, do you think, the mobile-friendly approach fits Solana really well because of the retail audience? And do you think it'll have the same effect in Ethereum? Or do you think, it's a different demographic, hence maybe the results will vary?
I think it's in my eyes, it's mobile friendly is needed for neobank financial apps, right? And that's more of ETH's, strong case is how do I have a bank-like app on my phone that I can spend money from, right? Like tap to pay at a store, deposit in yield, earn money, take out a loan, and do maybe more kind of hard, financial things, but that are, very mobile first. So yeah, I don't think this is like, this is gonna compete with Solana on that same, retail meme coin thing. Right. But I do think that mobile is very important for, the neobank manage your finances, manage your assets, pay bills and stuff like that, which I think, ETH is more suited for just because of the stronger DeFi.
Got it. Chill, I know you had a question on quantum, so maybe I'll let you take the floor there and see what Paulino is thinking on that.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to take it into a different direction before. So I know this is probably going to maybe get a little deeper, but can you talk to us about the quantum resistance side? We see this whole kind of narrative around quantum computing, that being a threat to Bitcoin. We saw, a lot of people look to Zcash for a solution. So I wondered if there was any quantum resistance here within the Railgun protocol.
Yeah, I would kind of break quantum down into two parts, right? One is on the base layer, So ETH is already working on post-quantum stuff. I can't remember when that'll be live, but I want to say it's end of year, at latest within the next year. I want to say they put some stuff into Glamsterdam, which just rolled out, I think, on testnets either today or yesterday, that sets up for post-quantum. So that's step one, right? Is if your privatized assets on the base chain aren't quantum safe, it doesn't really matter what you do. And yeah, as far as in Railgun, there's different encryption that's done, and the different proofs. Some are already quantum safe, and other ones will be quantum safe. So there's a plan, and there's I know there's kind of upgrades in the works. The main thing is, like, the main risk right now is the base layer, and that the EF is working on.
Got it. How do you look at quantum computing overall? Like, is it this big dark horse of a problem that we need to that's far off in the future? Do we need to worry about it right now? Is it like an imminent threat? Like, how do you view that?
I think there's a lot of easy things we can do to just make it safe, right? And so that's why the EF had originally the full quantum support, I think, was slated for not this next upgrade, but the following. And they bumped that up to support, to make keys quantum safe. I don't think that adds quantum spending yet, but it makes the assets you hold quantum safe. And then in the update after, that'll let you spend them with quantum safe things, right? So that's like step one, is just secure the assets. And then step two is add the interoperability. I think that, ETH is on it, and they're at least ahead of the game. As far as, how soon quantum computers become a reality, that date keeps shifting, right? It used to be 2035. Now people are saying early 2030s. I wouldn't be surprised if that gets moved up a little bit more. And I think that's just really why the EF is taking it very seriously. Just because that's something markets keep asking, right? Is you have this non-zero risk here. It's not zero, and it's not really like a percent you can put a number on. And it's kind of one of those black swan things. So I think it's really just, first keep the balances safe, which is being done. And then the next thing is, okay, now let people spend them.
Interesting. We have a few questions. We got to kind of come to a wrap here as we are at time. It's been a pleasure talking with you, Paulio. One question from my end is, does the Anon wallet, are you guys planning a token? Is there not going to be a token? What are the economics on that business? If you don't mind kind of giving the rundown there.
Yeah, there's no plan for a token yet. If we were to ever do a token, it would be based on obviously people using the wallet. But our core goal with that is just to keep it as a clean privacy interface, right? It's let's build and contribute to Railgun, right? And let's make Rail stronger by making it so you can use it everywhere. And let's give people easy ways to integrate. And then there's different products that we'll roll out on top of it that will have different fee shares on, and different DeFi protocols will give fee shares on like integrators, right? So us integrating different DeFi protocols, now if a user does that privately, then those DeFi protocols give us, a portion of their fees. So our kind of plan is to just, give users lots of different things that they can do with their private wallet, and try to be the number one place for people, doing privacy on chain.
Copy that. I got two questions in the chat here. One from Crypto Jones. He goes, as a trader, I wonder what the practical everyday use case for your average crypto degen is. I think he's maybe talking just generally with privacy. If you had to think from the shoes of a trader or the trader's perspective, what's going to be the most practical use case for privacy solutions for the average trader?
Yeah, I think it's, there's lots of different things, right? Copy trading is a big thing. People or kind of went through this whole copy trading wave. People like to doom post when people sell, right? And it's I think the basics are just like, it's like people should be able to do what they want, right? Like they shouldn't, pump and dumps, obviously illegal, and those are wrong and those aren't right. But like a normal user, should be able to buy, Fartcoin or something, and like not, be scrutinized for the investments they want to make, and so on. So I think, from a trading perspective, it's just, do you care if people see your trades? Right. If the answer is yes, then, trade it privately.
Is this something you can integrate into like a trading terminal, for example?
Yeah, we are working on a kind of like DEX screener like kind of trading terminal. And then we've got an SDK that we're talking to some different platforms about, for them to integrate, privacy. So if there was a terminal that wanted to integrate it, they totally should reach out, and we can kind of help them through the whole process. And then it's just like, it's another thing to kind of give to your users. It's privacy is something that people want and talk about now. But it's not very easy to just get access to.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's definitely the direction we're headed in. One more question from the chat, and then we'll wrap. And I'm not sure if this is in regards to Anon Wallet or Railgun in general. He says, what about the deposit fees? We saw earlier people commenting to lower it, especially the deposit. Now we pay deposit and withdraw fees. Again, maybe I'm just not tapped in enough, but do you have any comment on this?
Yeah, so deposit fees are controlled, by the DAO, right? So anybody can obviously put a, proposal up to lower those fees. Obviously, that's, it's something that's all out of my control. Those fees, right, go to stakers. So they go to, rail holders that are staking. And then they go to the treasury and get reinvested into protocol growth, right? So, like the fees have been a big, funding mechanism, and they've proven to be very successful because Railgun's grown tremendously, right, in the last couple years. So I think, some people look at fees and they're like, it's, I don't want to pay a fee, right? But then they'll go do a swap in like Phantom or Rabby, and they'll get charged a % for a swap, right? Like those fees are way higher, right? And it's maybe it's just because users don't really see that they're getting charged that fee. They're fine with it. but the main reason for those fees are, pay for audits, pay for developers, support the business. Like the Railgun contracts, I think have had over $1 million in audits and bug bounties, right? They've been battle tested for, over 4 years. And that's why there's so much money that flows through them. That's why money sits in them. And, without that fee, you're forced to, raise money and kind of change the main goal of the protocol, right? Which in this case, it's been able to kind of, stay true to, privacy first, DAO centric control, there is no entity, and so on.
Got it. Well, we appreciate you coming on. These were all great answers. The privacy conversation in general is fascinating. I don't know how we even got to this point to where people don't just assume privacy should be built in and just, what everyone is used to and accustomed to. And so I'm glad to see any steps in the right direction to make that a more normalized thing. And of course, Paulio, we appreciate what you're doing there. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for telling us about Anon Wallet. Thanks for telling us about Railgun. Again, I didn't mean to throw all these Railgun questions on you, considering you're here to represent the Anon Wallet project largely. So we appreciate you coming on, though. It's been a really interesting conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having us. So, obviously, if you want to try out Railgun, want to try out Anon, hit us up and let us know. So.
Sweet.
Thanks,
Where can they do that? What's the handles call to action here?
Yeah, the Anon site is anon.inc. And it's, it's a Chrome extension. Railgun is railgun.org. And then the Twitter handles are anon.inc and Railgun project. So that's kind of the best place to follow for updates, new versions, and everything.
Very
awesome.
Good. All right,
Paulio, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You as well.
Thanks. You too.
Boom. Unfortunately, Alan could not join us today. Got a little bit of a mix up on the times, but that's all good. Maybe we'll have to have him on another time. But it was great having Paulio on to talk us through Anon Wallet. Give us some of the high level of Railgun there. Of course, Railgun's one that we got really interested in during this privacy narrative. And again, I do agree with the notion that privacy should be at the protocol level. And it's pretty clear that the revenues are following suit for that. So Railgun's one to watch, especially if privacy gets its second wave at some point here. But any takeaways, Joe?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the quantum resistance, I think that's pretty important. You said they were working on some upgrades with that. We have also, Railgun top revenue generating protocol on Ethereum. They've generated, at one point they were generating more revenue than like Near protocol, than Zcash. I think they still are. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So I mean, just as far as the metrics on Railgun, those go crazy. Obviously, it's a thriving business. They're doing well. And yeah, I mean, excited to see, I think the next unlock when he talked about was the hardware wallet release. I think that's going to be pretty massive of, outside of not just a hardware wallet release, but also, with the Kohaku release. I think that as well is pretty, going to be pretty huge for Railgun. But overall, I think I love the pro behind it. It's just a protocol. It's just technology, and you have researchers and a community around it that's kind of building on top. So yeah, I really love what they're doing over there. Oh, shout out Josh. Shout out the boy.
Shout out Josh. Hey, Josh, also note, we got to get the right link to this, to the StreamYard here for the emails, because people aren't getting the right link. So with that being said, let's try to fix that. I'm not sure if you have some time to make that edit here.
Yeah.
Or you're kicked back here enjoying your vacation, but appreciate you joining. nonetheless, dude, we got to talk about this, and we're not going to get too much into it, but we are going to talk about it here in a second. Boys, are we seeing Kled up 26% on the day to 17 mil, had 19 mil earlier?
Oh,
I
shoot. No
gave you
way.
guys the zone. Yeah, we're looking good. Where's my zone though? Why is it not drawn up, dude?
Bro,
What's
I've
going
been
on? Okay.
seeing this thing. I've been seeing this thing with deck screener that it's like moving like my drawings and stuff around. It's moving my lines, it's moving my boxes. So yeah.
Deck screener's whack, dude. Whatever. We got extra coming up in a second. Just trying to, trying to make sure he gets in here. It looks like the link he got isn't quite working. So bear with us, guys.
You want
Let me check out this Kled update. Chill. Maybe you could try to make sure he gets in here. I sent him the correct StreamYard link. I'll send it again.
Okay.
But nonetheless, all right, guys, let's talk about Kled because they just dropped a pretty big update here. Actually, even before we talk about Kled, let's just talk about Solana in general. We got Ansem bull posting Solana. I was actually going to pull up this Solana chart, and then I saw Ansem tweet about it. So I'm like, okay, let me just pull up Ansem's tweet of the same thing I was going to pull up. He goes, stocks on Solana in reference to this. Stocks on Solana just hit new daily all-time highs yesterday of $553 million. $553 million of daily all-time highs on stocks. I mean, this chart is looking great. It's just going up and to the right. And of course, we said the biggest beneficiaries of this are going to be Backpack, the infrastructure powering this, right? They enable you to own one-to-one convertible stocks from your broker to Solana or from Solana to your broker. You can exchange them one-to-one. So it's Backpack, the infrastructure enabling it. It's Sunrise, who's facilitating this. And then it's Meteora, who is providing the liquidity to enable this further, right? So those are the three big beneficiaries of this. Sunrise DeFi is built on Wormhole. They have the Wormhole token, although it's unclear if any of the revenue from Sunrise goes to Wormhole. So that one I would take out of the list. That leaves us with Backpack, who's doing all this volume. You see the 553 million figure. Backpack and Sunrise are behind 90% of this, if I had to guess. So Backpack's making all the revenue from this. I did the calculations. If they're taking, 0.1 basis fees or whatever on this, they're making $400,000 to $1 million on every $1 billion of volume. So they're starting to really run it up. I mean, they've done $1 billion in the last 12 days in volume. And I think they're probably at like 1.5 now. So they're doing really well. And of course, all the liquidity for the most part is flowing through Meteora. 12 of the 17 million liquidity for these is Meteora, and almost all of the volume is through Meteora. So those are the two biggest beneficiaries of that. And so, with that said, the Meteora token's looking pretty good at 85 million. You guys know I've been bull posting it, but very strong. We saw the dip, the crypto-wide dip. Meteora held up very resilient against that, and I think this is ready for another leg. On the other hand, and we're ready to jump to extra here in a second, but on the other hand, I have to talk about my Kled. I mean, my baby. I was telling you guys to accumulate at sub 8 million, sub 7, around 7 million, and it has jumped tremendously with these updates. And one of the updates that they just talked about today was this. Right here. Kled just closed a $12 million data deal. So that's pretty cool because they're officially profitable, right? For a long time, Kled raised, 10, 11 million dollars, whatever it was, 13, 12 million, whatever, from VCs. So far the work's been subsidized by VCs. They've officially signed a $12 million non-exclusive data deal over the next 2 years, making it the marketplace officially profitable. With that, they're now heavily expanding the team to bring Kled to Android. Wow, that's a big one. Support every global currency and payment method, increase our daily uploads and registration on Trace by 2x in 1 month, and roll out the next fraud detection model for better data quality. We want the best engineers in the world. All open careers can be found here at Kled AI. So they're hiring now. They just signed a $12 million deal. Absolutely huge. I'm going to repost this again. And they're now releasing Android. So we already know they're topping charts on iOS App Store. They already have insane users and uploads, over 1.5 billion, I believe is the number that was quoted by Data yesterday. And they just received a $3 million additional lead on investment from Data at around a $300 million valuation. And with that, they're opening up Android, which we know this is going to just garner a massive amount of users. So shout out Kled, this one, onwards and upwards. And, just have to come on here and talk my bag a little bit, talk my book. So
real quick before we get extra, just one quick soundbite, and check your TG for wine as while I do this if you can. But I wanted to bring this to you guys' attention because we just talked about how tokenized equities are going crazy on Solana, right? And I saw this the other day. I forgot to talk about this on, what was it, Tuesday? But I forgot to talk about this earlier this week. Basically, Jesse said the first real one-to-one tokenized stocks are coming to base, he says. And then I see in the comments, and shout out everybody in the comments here, because they're like, hold on, what do you mean the first? If you look, there are a couple comments that basically were like, yeah, like Phil said, the second backpack on Solana already has this, right? So it's kind of like Base is like behind the eight ball on this. I mean, if you look at one of their recent tweets, he even said when tokenized equities go live on Base, like it's not here yet. It's not here yet. He said if you're building a neobank, a centralized exchange, a brokerage, and want 24/7 global stock trading, get in touch. And it's like, I get what you're trying to do. Obviously, there's a lot of innovation there, but Solana is already they're already way ahead of the game here. We have millions and billion, if not billions, of volume going through SpaceX, IPO stock, all this stuff on Backpack. I think I saw Mu as well. I think they recently launched Mu through Backpack. So again, it just goes back to this whole narrative of people are mistakenly keeping Solana as this like meme chain. Like, oh man, it's only memes, it's only scammers. They're kind of just dogpiling on top of it while it's seemingly down and out with the price action, and not realizing that, hey, look, Solana is like kind of leading the charge here when it comes to innovation. So just wanted to reference that real quick.
And guys, we'll talk shop, talk Solana chain. There's a lot going on after, but we got to respect our boy Dimitri's time. We've already held him 15 minutes plus with a mishap with the wrong stream link. So he's been waiting, he's been patient, and now we're well overdue to get him started. So with that being said, we have an interesting one today. Physical infrastructure is not something you see oftentimes happening on chain. They're doing something different. I've heard they've got some robotic situation going on. They have physical infrastructure. It's a DPIN project. Man, I remember back in the day, Chill, I'm sure remembers this as well. DPIN was a big narrative that people were looking towards. It fizzled out a good bit. We didn't really see a lot come from it. We even saw the situation where DPIN of the past kind of suffered from its own success. Even yesterday, we had a conversation about Helium, and Helium was a DPIN project, for example, had great users, partnered with T-Mobile. The issue was the token emissions killed the project, and people would use it, spend their outside money, receive crypto money, and they'd have to sell it to convert it back to outside money to subsidize their spending. And so this kind of caused a downward spiral for Helium. DPIN today is much different, and we love seeing this physical stuff. We're fascinated by robotics. It's going to be a great conversation. We're excited to learn everything about it. So let's get Dimitri up here to break it all down. Dimitri, thank you for your patience, by the way, man.
Echoing.
Hey, I'm not sure if we can hear you too clearly.
Can you hear me
Still
better?
quick. There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
Awesome. Hear you loud and clear. Welcome, Dimitri. How are you?
I'm doing well. How's everything?
Going well.
Good, man. Happy to have you on stream. Excited to dig into everything that you're building there with Extra. A lot of times, though, we just like to start with the founder themselves. Just kind of dig into your background, what kind of qualifies you to build something like this. But just to overall get to know you a little bit better. So let's start there. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can transition into the rest of the conversation.
Yeah, sure. My name's Dimitri. I am the founder of Extra. I come from a background. I started my MBA. I got my MBA at William Patterson after Penn State. I studied economics, went on to get my MBA, and then joined AWS. Before that, I was doing a lot of work that I can jump in, but this was like the founding of the founder, right? Where I was just like jumping from company to company like everyone else, trying to figure out what my placement was. And I found a home in like location analytics, expanding the market, kind of just figuring out what is the right success path for a company to branch off. At AWS, I led in strategic planning with data center expansion. So India was our largest move, or the largest move under my umbrella of um, of work there. And my goal was to understand India's market. How do we launch um, AWS services there? What is the best way to enter the market? How do we determine the timing? So all of these things kind of fed into what I do today. And from there, from AWS, I've explored and consulted with different companies, but Extra is the baby. This is where I am now.
Nice. Love it. Again, like I teed it up before you came in, we don't see a lot of physical products coming onto the blockchain and having a token on Solana. So, really curious, your background led you to, launching this token Extra. Can you tell us about the product? You did all this work in India that I think probably leads into what you're doing today, or, studying that market. What is Extra? What is this product that you're currently building out? And what's like the problem and solution that you're solving for?
Yeah, so Extra branches off of Extra LLC. So Extra AI Inc. is the separate entity that we're discussing. Extra LLC is the initial launch. So I started Extra LLC in 2020 during COVID. So I was in Seattle at the time working at AWS and moved back to New York. And like most people, I was seeking out real estate. At the time, for some reason, it felt like the right move. And so as I was seeking out in real estate, my goal was, is this going to be an investment or is this going to be a place I live? Ultimately, I bumped into commercial real estate, walked down that pattern, met a lot of business owners, and tried to understand like how COVID was impacting their business. And what came up was, we don't really know how the coronavirus is impacting our business. We don't know if we're getting more traffic or less traffic. That was the ultimate problem. And once I discovered this, it was like, I can solve this very easily with YOLO models, open source models, and tapping into their existing cameras. So that was the initial service. The initial service was, we'll tap into your existing cameras, we'll run a small edge model, and we'll count your traffic. And we've enhanced since then. Now we do a little bit more. We can count the traffic and determine how many people actually walk in the store. This is the LLC model. This is the legacy model. Over time, we've connected to thousands of cameras. And last year, and I think where we are today, is how can we take this data, these same camera connections, and how can we power more apps? What led us there was advertising. And so if you've ever been to an airport, or if you've ever been to New York City, Times Square, there's these big screens everywhere, and all they do is play ads all day long.
Right.
This is called DOOH, digital out of home advertising. And they have the issue where they don't necessarily know how many people looked at those ads. We've got cameras that are facing the street in multiple areas. We have thousands of them. So then it was, how do we use those cameras to expand into another vertical of business? And that's when we understood that there's compliance and there's regulation and certain laws that we have to follow. And so we looked into the Web3 space because there's this contributor network. There's Beepin, as you mentioned before, that operate exactly like this. And we found a solution here. And so since then, we've tried to explore how many different verticals can we hit with this data. And so we started offering data on Snowflake, and we've expanded from there. But ultimately, that is a story. We started as a small company in New York, what we still are today. And this Extra AI, I think, is the evolution, the next step.
This is wild and also a little bit scary, to know that these cameras are so, you can tap into these cameras and track so many little details, like how many people are viewing an advertisement. So I want to get into all of that. So it seems like what I'm understanding here is you have this physical business that came from during COVID. People were unsure if their foot traffic was up or down. They didn't know how to track this. You guys came in kind of before the advent of AI and developed or had implemented some sort of system to be able to track all this stuff for these store owners. And from there, it seems like it's kind of evolved, and now we have AI, which I'm sure is built into your current system today. And you're thinking, well, Times Square's got all these advertisements. There's so much foot traffic. How can we tell if people are actually seeing this? These ad dollars, how much are they worth? Because we know, I think 60% of all ad spend actually goes unnoticed is the number. And you probably have a better stat on that than me, or it doesn't even like reach the right person. But with that being said, you're now kind of in the data business is what it seems like. Walk me through that market, I guess, who you're targeting and what, and I don't want to jump too ahead of ourselves and get to revenue, but like, what is the business, I guess, you're mainly focused on at this point? Is it collecting this data and then reselling it? Or maybe I'm unclear on that.
Yeah, so our direct path to revenue is that advertising space. We already have the partner who would be willing to make these kind of purchases. They're interested, it's out there. And our purpose for Snowflake, AWS Marketplace, X even in the Web3 space is exploring the different verticals that we may also be able to, I guess, dive into that market. But we've done a bunch of work with this data. And so just to back up a little bit, first, I think you mentioned before AI and we developed it, I just want to clarify, we didn't invent it, right? Like I didn't invent the model. YOLO has existed. Xbox Connect has existed. So there are multiple other companies who released a camera that is programmable and it tracks movement or it tracks something. So we're standing on their shoulders. I just want to make sure that's out there. I'm not making a claim that, yeah, right. So we are using existing technology, or we were using existing technology. We do have some pieces that we can stand by today and say, oh, we've been able to develop X, Y, and Z. And so essentially, your question is walk you through the market of how where we're reaching out. So there's a couple different pieces. There's Department of Transportation. We do work with today the Curb Management Office in New York City. We provide insights on how traffic is moving through the city, what causes congestion at a corridor level. So we look block by block, we look at what we're connected to, and we say, on this street, it seems like double parking is the greatest offender. It seems like larger trucks are the greatest offender. And this assists them with how they create new laws or decide when construction slots can be filled. So this is one vertical. I wouldn't say that we're trying to dive, all the way into government work and traffic congestion. I will say that the biggest piece we want to pull from this is providing the average person with live time updates on where parking is available. It's just so much easier. Tap into 1,000 cameras and find out where park. Don't spin the block. So we are trying to come up with our own, I think, products that we want to release. But the data's out there. We provide the data. And it is our revenue today. So I wouldn't necessarily write us off as like a data selling company is a point that I'm making.
Okay, that's a really good clarification here. So you're almost more so even looking to develop applications based on the data that you guys are getting in here, rather than selling that data.
Yeah, we are absolutely developing apps. Our first app is to be released this July. This is our business-facing app. So essentially, historically, the way that we've set this up is we would walk into a business and there's a process. So I started off door to door. That's how we got to where we are. I started off by walking into businesses and talking to them during this COVID time. It was a lot easier. There were less people there. The chances of actually, if you've ever been in sales, this is a pipeline. You walk in, you're going to get shaken away. They're going to say, hey, business owner's not here. Here's an email. You got to walk back in. Walk back in. So that's what I did initially. And the way we set this up was very manual. So I would pull in an RTSP depending on the technology they had. Ultimately, the process would take a day. Like I would need to send someone over there, or a couple hours. I would need to send someone over there to hook up their existing cameras to the Extra network. Make sure an edge model deploys on their local device, and make sure the data from that edge model is being sent back to Extra. And then we would send them reports. The way we are moving or shifting to is something more automatic. So we spent a lot of time on this, just understanding the user flow. How do we get someone on board seamlessly in minutes, 1, 2, 3 minutes? The benchmark that we aimed for was Bricks, which is a enterprise bank account. We aimed for Outlook, how to set up an email for companies. We wanted to understand how long does any business, how long would they take doing anything else? And that was the benchmark we aimed to meet. And so today you can click away and add a camera, or in early July, our first app, you can add a camera as a business owner, and access the Extra network and get all of the intelligence, the foot traffic, the journey mapping through like a retail environment. All of that we offer. That'll be our first application.
Got it.
And did you have a follow-up on that, Dom?
No, I mean, not on that specifically.
Got it. I saw that we had a good community question here from Daddy Duster talking about how are you guys competing? But before we get to the question specifically, like just broadly looking at this sector, what does your competition look like? Are you the only one building something like this? And how is your traction versus theirs? What are you doing differently? All those things.
Yeah, so the competitive landscape, I think, is still very new because AI is still very new. A lot of organizations and companies haven't implemented AI. So just to name AI alone, it gives you a booming industry, but not yet a well-adopted industry when we think about these companies. Most business owners that we work with today, the most updated piece of technology they may have is like Square or Clover. The cameras sit there, and if something happens, they'll go through the feeds. It's very rare that we wouldn't be in business, right? It's very rare that we come across a business owner that has some kind of intelligence with their security feeds. I think our differentiation is, or if I even said that word, I kind of rolled that. But I think it's our approach. Like we started off door to door. We had people that talk about us. We spread. We joined the Chamber of Commerce. Do we have competitors today? Yes, fragments. I don't think anyone is doing what Extra aims to do. I think there are pieces in multiple industries, and it's mostly geared towards surveillance. The biggest moat that we have, I think the thing that I talk about most is our layer of privacy. So right now, the streams don't actually leave the local device. What leaves the local device is a numerical explanation of what's occurring on that device. And so we don't actually tap into a camera and see De Niro Dom, doing whatever he's doing, but we have a description of a male in a formula almost, a description of a male that is doing a certain or performing a certain act. And so like this is, I think, our key differentiator. I think this is more future proof. And so like there are competitors. I think most of them are surveillance. And if we talk about in the store, there's more competitors on process mapping. We're more consumer focused. We're more end user focused. And we offer today the ability to create a model for your specific interest. For example, we've been on Snowflake, and the first person to reach out to us was like this merchandising company. So I didn't know this, but these big retail stores or any store that sells clothing, they don't actually set up their store. For the most part, they hire another company that comes in and sets everything up and does their inventory and all of this. And this company specializes in making things look good, making placement like optimized. But they wanted us to come up with a data set that tells them what people are wearing. What color shirt, what color pants, how long sleeve, short sleeve. And so I found that really interesting. But we had the ability to create this custom model, this lightweight model, deploy it across all of our cameras and surface that data. I think that's the differentiator.
Got it. And you just mentioned Snowflake. For those that aren't familiar, because if I'm not mistaken, I think that's like a $1 billion company. But can you explain to the audience like kind of who Snowflake is, why it's important to be there?
Other than AWS Marketplace, I think Snowflake would be the leading provider in data. And so Snowflake validates your data. They verify it. They make sure that it's up to like enterprise level of worthiness. So you need to be an official business to be on Snowflake. There needs to be documentation. There needs to be use cases. There's a vetting process. So I guess not anyone can just sign up for Snowflake and start offering data. It takes a little bit more, especially if you want to sell it. And so I think if there was a scenario where someone said, is Extra real? Are they actually providing something? That would be an easy way to determine if that is the case. But yes, they are a very large company. I think their stock is at like $200 a share, um, something like that. Don't quote me. I don't know. It's like 200 and something dollars.
It's a lot.
They're a very large company. They provide data to the largest enterprises in the world.
I want to ask you, I guess, just a random question. Just generally, in the vein of the work that you do, seeing how much surveillance is important and the different things you can do with it, and I guess how mass surveilled all these different cities are. Does that make you nervous? I mean, like, I think China, for example, will give you speeding tickets if you go over the speed limit because they have this surveillance. Like you mentioned, New York City has hundreds or thousands of cameras just around Times Square to, just around in general, and you can track all these different things and different movements. I guess as a human being, and you talk about the United, or not you, but people talk about the United States and trying not to be under a surveillance state or whatever you want to call it. Are you worried that at some point everything is going to be mass surveilled and this is an issue we run into? Or I guess just with the industry experience you have, how has that changed your perspective on the world in general?
I think that the idea of mass surveillance has long existed. Like there's satellites in the sky. There's Google Earth. There are multiple pieces of evidence that already suggest that like you can look up whatever you want to look up. And in live time in New York City today, they have speed cameras everywhere. Traffic cameras, Easy Pass has like if you cross without paying, they send you a ticket in the mail. So like this idea of mass surveillance is already out there. Like this has long existed. Every business has a camera in front of the business. Someone mentioned a couple competitors like Bosch, and that was one of the questions. So like there are a lot of companies that are connected to multiple cameras. The idea is out there. I think it already exists. Now, how we use that data, I think what the end user has never seen is like how can they use that data for their own life? How can I use this data to find parking? How can I use this data to find a better outfit for tonight or find people that I would enjoy hanging out with? No one has seen that. The surveillance side, you of course haven't seen. You just, I guess to answer your question, no, I'm not worried. I think that this data is required for the future that we want. If we want robots handing us stuff, not to a specific static address, but throughout our day. I ordered something from Amazon and it delivers to me wherever the heck I am at the time. That kind of stuff, you need this. So it's like there's like this balance that you have to play. Like, yes, there's privacy. Yes, there's this piece of me that doesn't want anyone just stalking me. The other side is that already happens for the most part, where it matters most. The government has cameras wherever they can get you for whatever you're doing, right? Like that, like this already occurs. It's just how can we use this, and what's the next step for it, and what do the people want as a future, and how do we get there? Like this is probably the way that we know today that is the cheapest or hardware that's already developed, and you can go take that on that road.
Yeah,
A lot
I
of
think to help
people,
us. Oh, geez, chill. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. A lot of people, they think about, because you just mentioned robotics. A lot of people think about robotics as being kind of the next industry to boom after AI. I mean, talk a little bit about how this kind of technology is kind of, important for, building physical AI, robotics. What are the benefits of this kind of tech for that sector?
Yeah, this is a very exciting world for us. This website, by the way, needs an update. So we're aiming for this. My initial website was like this WordPress almost business card, because again, our process was a little more manual. Now that we moved towards Web3, I thought I'd give Claude a spin. This is what I came out with. We hired someone to actually make like a real website. Just throwing that out there. But it does show what the cameras were connected to. Going back into robotics, I'm so excited for this, because it turns out that there's a lot of information that we have today that we can use for robotics. The most specific example that we have is we actually started working with a small startup. They offer robotics delivery like DoorDash, Uber Eats, and it's in these busy urban cities, and these robots need to drive on the sidewalk, and they need to know when to cross the street. And so for most of this, they solve this with similar technology to Tesla, where the robot itself, it's smart enough to make these decisions. Now, where it falls short is understanding the offsets, like where is there a puddle coming up? In that scenario, would it have been smarter to cross the street a block back, or is it smarter to go there, discover the puddle, and then go back to where the intersection is and then cross the street? And so extra AI being that, I guess, eagle eye, if that's the specific information they're looking for, where is there a puddle, where is a crowd forming, further than what they can see today, because these are making very local decisions. It's deciding, okay, I need to drive all the way to the end of this corner, get there safely. Once I get there, I then need to cross the street at the appropriate time. We can help them surface whether or not it should have been done the block before or the block before that. That is like what we're working on today. Where we explore and where we go, I think there's just a whole world there. Because then, if you want to think very sci-fi, there's going to come a time, I believe, if robotics take off and people like them and if there's a buy-in, there's going to come a time where there's robots everywhere. And so robots will be performing tasks for us on our behalf. there's going to be someone who ends up making a fake robot. By that, I mean, it's going to be a robot that looks like it's delivering DoorDash. It's going to be allowed in a building. It's going to go up the elevator. It's going to go to the floor that it's supposed to go to. And then we're going to discover this robot was not, in fact, delivering DoorDash. That is the reality of the future. That is the same historical trend we see down the line. So there's going to be a security mechanism in place. There's going to be a need to understand that robot's journey from start to finish. You're going to need to verify so there's a whole piece and a whole sector that we're looking at that's very forward-looking, and I think very sci-fi. But someone can.
Oh, I think we lost him.
Oh,
you're back. You're back. We lost you for a sec.
Okay, where did I leave off at?
You literally lost for like 2 seconds. So just on your same thought process.
Oh, I mean, that's pretty much it. Right now, what we're exploring is how can we help these robots make proactive decisions. That is the basis. That's what we're doing today. Future, and we've explored more. We've gone a little bit further in our own thought process, but that would be where we're at.
Got you. I want to, obviously the show comes down to, how investable are tokens, how investable are projects. And this requires us getting kind of in your head. And, you mentioned all these different applications that can come from this industry, how big it is. When I guess we narrow this down and hone in on what you're offering here, if you had to kind of put a number on it, put a total addressable market here, just give us a general broad idea, what is the exact market you're tackling? What's the size of this market? How big could this get? What are you looking to scale out to? I think once you answer that, we can really start to get a good idea of the direction that we should expect this token to head in, the direction we should expect this business to head in. And so I'd really be interested in kind of getting your thoughts on the total addressable market here.
Yeah, so market intelligence and foot traffic calculations alone, we see a market today of well over $400 million. We are trying to capture the small brick and mortar. And these work hand in hand with and the brick and mortar represents a very, I think, larger domain. It's about 60% of that total market share. We've done a pretty good job in Manhattan so far. And then the market may be larger. I'm considering the United States only. So it's probably a lot larger than that, but I'll go off of what our deck says today. And so we've done a pretty good job in Manhattan, New York, specifically around Midtown and Soho. We have well over 9,000. We're connected to over 30,000 cameras to date. The 9,605 are the ones that we had data sharing agreements on at the time that I created. Whatever, it's going to be updated anyway. But
when was that though? Because that growth is pretty, very good. So I want to index that. You went from 9 to 36,000 in what was the span of time there?
So we are already connected to more cameras than what's surface here. What we needed was an agreement to share data. So our team spent about a month and a half contacting, and like shout out to my team. These are sales guys. They get paid to convert. In this
Sure.
scenario, this wasn't like you're making a sale. This is an existing customer, so it was more like a relationship building exercise. But anyway, the market intelligence for brick and mortars, I think, is it's a growing industry because the individuals that are starting to own stores and own bars, I think, are more understanding of how powerful data is. So we see a large market there. We are trying to capture this market, and this works hand in hand with the additional vertical, which is the ad space. And so understanding how many people look at ads in DOOH, a piece of this robotics and making these decisions and understand and helping them understand which routes to take. What I find so interesting is a lot of these robots are wrapped in what a brand may want people to see. So these are moving advertisements. And so we're solving two things. We're helping the robot understand and make proactive decisions for a better route. Simultaneously, we can route this robot to where a crowd is forming, or we can route them away from where the crowd is forming. If the robot wants to move towards where the crowd is forming for the purpose of ad exposure, that's a piece we can do. And this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. The vertical that we're in today, or where we're trying to expand, just specifically DOOH, is the largest growing advertisement piece. So, like, in terms of investment, the token is not necessarily an investment vehicle. I've never pitched, if you buy the token, it is something that you want to park your money and it's going to just blow up. That would be nice. If that does happen, then, all power to you. I'm very happy for you. But the token itself is an access layer. And so I don't think it should be, misunderstood for a security, because that is not the case. It is an access layer. When there's a supply and there's a demand, we use the token to coordinate this. So these people who own cameras, they will be rewarded in the form of extra. Now, whether that be an enhanced model or enhanced insights, because it would cost extra to deliver this kind of thing, that's solely up to the business owner and our relationship. But the person purchasing the data would pay in the form of fiat or whatever the scenario may be. That is converted to extra. The extra is routed to the person who delivered whatever insights we pulled from. That is the whole purpose of our entry to Web3. It's extremely challenging to take 1 million cameras, or whatever that number is, and determine which one surfaced what insight, which one was utilized, and then route the value to them in the form of fiat using traditional banking. Web3 helps us solve this issue. So it is an access layer.
Okay, so the extra token is an access layer, and I want to touch on this again, so I'm making sure I'm understanding this correctly. What happens is you want to use this a bit as rewarding for customers, and on the opposite side, on the supply and demand side, right? So on the demand side, people have to pay extra, they pay in fiat, and you convert that to extra, and that conversion, I guess a piece of that profit or rebates, whatever you want to call it, goes to the supply side as, I guess, a bit of a rebate. Maybe help me understand this, because I don't think I have the full picture on the token here.
The typical DePIN flywheel. You earn extra, or you earn whatever that token is by providing whatever it is that DePIN needs. Who purchases that is what we typically don't see on the DePIN side. You understand how you earn with most DePINs. Most people say, hey, if I buy this and set it up, I'll start earning Helium or HiveMapper and whatever that may be. But what are you actually providing, and who's the purchaser? I think that's a little more transparent in our scenario. The person purchasing can be data. It can be the individual who wants to create an app on top of the data, or it could be our own internal providers who are now they have a camera set up. They want to understand their foot traffic. That is a service that we need to provide. So they need to purchase extra data to surface that, or understand their user journeys, or have more enhanced models. So it's the same. I didn't mean to confuse anything. Typical DePIN setup. You contribute to a network. We take this data and we give it to someone else, or sell it to someone else. They purchase it. and then we take this money and send it back to you. Now, how much did you contribute is the part that was hard for us to solve, because there are different cameras that have different quality, and some of them can surface things that others can't. Some of them are pointed at hot spots, some of them aren't. So that's what we're using this for.
Got you. Okay. That thanks for clearing that up. It makes a lot more sense now, how the token kind of plays into this thing. What do you keep out of that? Obviously, there's some economic incentive for you guys. You're not just routing all revenues and profits back to the deep in the supply side, if you will. So on your side, if I have to get into the economics of this business, what do the economics look like from your perspective? Is there a take rate for you guys? How much is that? Generally, that idea.
So we expand our customer base on the Extra LLC, just the legacy model, solely by offering this kind of scenario, which is a subscription-based model. We also take the 15% of this growing network. So most of it is routed back into the network, 85% of it. So we take 15% off the top. If you paid $100 for data today, we take $15. A portion of it is going straight to the contributor, so divvied up amongst the contributors, and a portion of it is just powering the network, growing the network to make it more of an incentive for more people to hear about it, learn about it, because the token is also like the transparent piece. It's a marketing tool. Like you have $100 million market. Yeah, it's a marketing tool. It's a vehicle. It solves a bunch of stuff. So we're going to use it for the tool that it is.
Got it. Okay, sweet. That makes a lot of sense. To kind of close the loop here on token, revenues, model, could you talk to me about the contracts you had? Department of Transportation, you mentioned, is someone you guys, I think, are working with, along with some other names. Could you talk me through those current deals or contracts that you have in place?
Department of Transportation is more research-based. It's the same as all of them can be considered research-based, right? Like we're surfacing data that is research in itself. With Department of Transportation, they typically open, if you go to like sam.gov, and I think a lot of people should hear about this in the Web3 space because it's so grand. There's so many people doing good work. But you should always look at like local government RFPs, which is a request for proposal. But ultimately, that's what we did. We went to sam.gov, we went to nyc.gov, and there's always these bids, essentially, where they're looking for specific things, and we applied. They asked us for what we got, we delivered it. It's an ongoing relationship. We were able to sign our first contract back in 2022, and we've been re-engaging ever since. And it's typically pictured out like our first contract was 1 year, and then we re-signed for 3 years. But ultimately, we have 15 methodologies. If you pull up my website and go to those 15 methodologies, this is essentially the data that we provide. Go to methodology. Yeah, and scroll down. Keep going, keep going. These are the 15 different data sets that we provide. So cruising, essentially right now we say there are about 22 million cars in New York City at any given time. We said, actually, this is false. What is happening is someone is arriving to their destination and then they start circling around looking for parking. And then there's double parking, how many vehicles double park and where, loading dwell, how long does a truck actually spend in these loading areas. We have laws for 2-3 hours that keep resurfacing, but these are the 15 different ones.
Got you. And can anybody come onto the network and provide any of these different offering methodologies to you, and then you go and repurpose that data to the supply side, to the demand side?
No, we don't have anything set up where you can provide data directly. You can provide the resource that would extract that data, and then we would, because all of these ran through a rigorous process. We can't just say, hey, we can determine how many people are cruising. We have to show logic behind it. This is exactly how we're doing it. We're actually pre-registering most of these on OSF. So anyone can go look at it when we're having these peer reviewed. Because to understand a car cruising is more challenging than it may seem. You know, it may appear in one camera and appear in another, but that doesn't mean anything, right? So there's a logic behind it that needed to be aligned on, and someone needed to agree and say, this will actually get us an accurate count.
Got you. Okay, well, we've done a good job, I think, covering everything we need to know. I think the next thing is just roadmap. What are the next steps here? You obviously have this bootstrap distribution that you got from the token. People are paying attention. Give them something to chew on. What comes next? What should they be looking forward to? What are you guys focused on?
I think the biggest thing is turning the network on, right? Like all of this is just talk until there's proof. The reality is there is no verified transaction going through our network today. There's no one that purchased data and no one that earned extra. So I think that is the first thing to look out for. We're hoping to do this. We're hoping to have our first transaction surface in the next 3 months. Within the next 3 months, it may be sooner. I'm going to push for as soon as possible, but I think that's the thing to look out for. And between here and there, we are announcing a seed round at the end of August towards September. I'm excited for this. We have a couple of verbal commitments today. We have a couple of interesting conversations that are going on. I don't know until I have a check in my hand. So
Right.
we have a central exchange that we're heavily going after. For the most businesses that we work with understand accounting, they understand receipts, they understand invoices. Central exchanges are just better set up to deliver these at the end of the year whenever tax season comes around. So we are heavily pursuing, I've been very vocal about this. So there's that piece. And I think those are the two like major announcements. Now for the consumer, we have a consumer app. We have the business app, which we're calling Extra Business platform. There's nothing fancy. This should be early July, mid-July. We've already started testing it. That is the consumer app. So that would be the consumer app. I think is going to be really cool. You talked in the beginning about DPINs and how the problem with DPINs is something that we understand. But typically you have an app or you have a way to contribute towards this network and you start earning and the token or whatever it's tied to starts fluctuating. Eventually either your interest drops off or it's a harder entry. It's harder to contribute towards this network and actually make something meaningful. These are problems that we don't know if we can solve. We can't solve, is it going to be more meaningful tomorrow to contribute towards extra? But what we can do is provide an app for someone who's interested in joining this network that gives them more reason to open this app other than just extra, other than earning extra. So we've done a lot of, I think, understanding of what does the average person open on their phone. The average person opens X, social media, they open their email, they open their banking app. There's utility just in opening those apps. And so our goal for this app is to, I think, take some of these, key aspects, bring it into an app and give someone another reason to contribute or not, and still enjoy having this piece of extra artifact on their phone.
Got it. I guess one question I had, you mentioned that you had some interested parties looking to invest. And so I wanted to see, there's been a lot of, pump fund projects that, they've launched a token, and now they're kind of like opening up to this like sort of ace round and taking advantage of that. How do you view that? I know sometimes there's certain things you can and can't talk about, but how do you view the ace round? Is it something that, would make sense for what you're building, or how are you thinking about it?
The ace round, I learned about this recently, so I didn't know much about an ace round or what it was. We followed the entire Web3 space I'm relatively new to. I was more on the legacy side, so I think it's great. If it's going to get the product or get the project to the next level or the next step, go for it. I think from my understanding, the ace round is more of a loan. Do you mind just providing a brief, I learned about this, but just a quick refresher. What is this again?
So basically, ace round, it just basically allows your most loyal holders to get on the cap table. So tokens, I think, are held in a safe agreement, and and that's able to basically give your holders, your community, your early supporters kind of exposure on the equity side to what you're building.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
this
so it's
is
token to equity conversion model.
it sounds interesting. I mean, I'm all for anything that gets the product to the next level. We are I think our focus is a little bit more direct, a little more strategic. It's not necessarily all capital that we're after. Um, it's connections, right? Like that's a piece of it. Like
Mhm.
we are a heavy real estate play. We help, people decide, people do their due diligence before they're investing in something. So partnering or having an investor with a heavy retail back or real estate background would be of interest. Someone with a heavy retail background. Um, so I think with this seed round, what we've done a really good job of doing is not saying we just need money and we'll take it from anyone. We were very specific and we went after specific targets with our offering. So I don't know if this ACE round would have the ability to surface that, especially on the Web3 side. And it may, but I think for us specifically, we had a direct outlook on like, okay, here are the different verticals of business that we want to explore. Here's how we plan to grow. This is who this company makes the most sense for. Um, so let's go after these targets, and we grow and they grow.
Got it. Sounds good. Well, I think that kind of takes it as far as questions that I had. Unless Dom has anything else, it's been a great interview here, Dimitri. We really appreciate you joining us. I know you said you have a few things you're working on in the background there. So as you make as you pursue the roadmap, you have some updates, some exciting things happen. Feel free to come back on. We'd love to have you and get updates as things develop.
Yeah, Dom, chill. So do I call you just chill or?
Yeah, chill is fine. Yeah, that's what most people call me.
Time, guys. Thank you. Again, 3 months. That is when I think this will all loop in. We want to see that transaction. I'm going to hit on that. You want to see the transaction. That is when our network is open. That is when I think people can say, okay, we need to verify. People should verify. So 3 months, we'll be there. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. And love the show, man. Thanks for reaching out.
Oh,
Yeah,
amazing.
absolutely. Happy to have you on and really appreciate the positive feedback. But yeah, looking forward to next time, man. Really appreciate the time today.
Yeah. Have a good one. Cheers.
See you, Dimitri.
All right, Dimitri. What a Chad.
All right.
Can't wait to. Hey, look, one thing I really appreciated. He said up front. He's like, hey, look, we got to see transactions. We got to see the activity. We have to see that first. And I like that that kind of mindset that he has towards the product. I think sometimes you have founders that are just kind of blindly optimistic, but it's good to see that he's very level-headed in his approach. And I was surprised he didn't know about an ace round, but I think that'd be a good candidate for an ace round.
Maybe. Yep. Nonetheless, that's a stream today, guys. Ideally, I would have liked someone from Railgun. Alan, I think, was supposed to come on. Looks like he got the times confused. That would have been really nice. But it's all right. Lots going on in the market today, so excited to get into these and talk about what's going on in the markets. And Duster, I see your message too. Feel free to elaborate more in the chat if you want. To let the viewers know. But with that being said, Kled just dropped another update, which I guess I have to cover at this point.
Let's do it.
Yeah, and top Crypto Jones, I think you'll be happy to know Kled's probably doing something that you have been predicting for a long time. And I'll leave it at that. But Avi put this out. He goes, "We are beyond excited to announce that Yash, who served as a director of engineer at Meta's Super Intelligence Labs, has now joined Kled as an investor. Yash will play a pivotal role in helping guide our data quality pipeline to match the needs of all major frontier models and labs as we continue to increase the size of our data contracts."
Wow.
Okay. Well, we take it at face value, right? Yash, served as the director of engineering at Meta Superintelligence Labs, has joined Kled as an investor. Okay, he likes Kled. He's an investor in Kled. But the bottom there says, Yash will play a pivotal role in helping guide our data quality pipeline to match the needs of our major frontier models and labs as we continue to increase the size of our data contracts. Yeah, Crypto Jones. Well, you don't have to tell me. Luckily, I was positioned, but yeah, congratulations on that. I'm
Wait,
sure
what was the Crypto Jones prediction? Like, what did he?
Crypto Jones has been okay here. Actually, as funny enough, it just came out. So here I will pull it up now. Crypto Jones prediction, and I've been saying no, Crypto Jones. This is probably not happening. Kled AI just posted this. We've started and are continuing to buy back over $1 million of Kled in the last 48 hours. Kled will ultimately become a fully viable reward currency for our data marketplace and humans in the loop fraud detection tools we have built. As our contracts get bigger and bigger, we will continue to support our token community accordingly and at our discretion. So Kled's doing $1 million of buybacks for the Kled token as we speak, and over the last 48 hours, which of course it's at $18 million. So, oh my gosh, and pumping. People seem to be now trying to front run the $1 million of inflows that are coming. So, happy I positioned at 7 mil, 8 mil. I hope you guys.
You've been banging the door.
Dude.
You've been telling us about Kled for weeks, months. I mean, honestly, you've been on Kled since they launched. Let's be for real. Yeah, let's be for real. I gotta give Dom his flowers, man. Like Dom on Kled, CPT, and a few others. Like when you have a thesis, bro, you're just like, all right, cool. If I die, I die type of mentality. And that's the way to go, bro. You've been bag working for Kled.
See it through.
Good to see, man. Good to see.
Crypto Jones as well. Had been in the comments saying he's going to buy back the Kled token at these prices. Of course, Kled's fair value is much higher than the token was trading at. So, like, again, it's a matter of patience, or at least in my mind, it was a matter of patience. And I'm like, I don't think he's going to buy back the token, though. Here it is, $1 million of Kled. We've started and are continuing to buy back over $1 million of Kled in the last 48 hours. The wording on that could, I think, use a little touch up, Avi, but generally we get the idea. Kled will ultimately become a fully viable reward currency for our data marketplace and human in the loop fraud detection tools we have built. As our contracts get bigger and bigger, we will continue to support our token continuously according to our discretion. Okay, so we have to do a play-by-play update for Kled, because Kled's done a few updates here. So let's go through while we're on the topic here. Okay, a couple days ago, firstly, they partnered with Data. Okay, so this was a big one. Story Protocol, formerly IP, which is now Data, has shifted from a focus on IP to making a full stack data layer, right? Where it's add data, verify data, add it to the blockchain, all that stuff. That's what Data is doing. Kled partnered with them. They invested $3 million into Kled at around $300 million valuation, which brings a total of invested capital into Kled to $14 million. Okay, that was a great partnership. Again, now all the data that's going through Kled is anonymized, verified, and put on the blockchain. So you can verify that this is real, licensable data for these labs. This is huge. Labs need this to be able to buy this data. Okay, check one. That was a massive one. Earlier today, an hour ago, they announced that they signed a $12 million non-exclusive deal, making Kled now profitable. Already Kled has become a profitable company, and they've just signed a $12 million deal. It's been a year. What do you think happens? This is why these data companies grow so fast, guys. This is why I get so bullish on Kled when I talk about it, because these data companies, and now they have a $12 million contract signed, grow very fast. So imagine you're the largest opt-in human data collection stack. And by the way, you also now have all of this is verifiable and licensable. With that being said, you have $14 million invested, going viral all the time, talk of the town in San Francisco, and they've now just become profitable with a $12 million contract. And they're doing $1 million of buyback to the token. Okay, but don't forget, they just added this guy Yash. And why is this important now? Okay, Kled's got some motion. Now. We just signed a $12 million contract where all of our data is verifiable. We have the largest opt-in human data. Okay, the labs are starting to take notice. They've raised $14 million. Labs are starting to pick up. So what happens here? What do you do when the labs start paying attention to you and you have all this data and you need to match it to the frontier labs? You bring on a guy like Yash, who served as a director of engineer at Meta Superintelligence Labs, and he's joined Cled as an investor. So you bring in Yash, he invests in the company, and what he's going to do now is coordinate all this data you have with the labs that need the data most. Where's he from? He's from Meta. Do you think Meta Labs needs data? Do you think the director of engineering at Meta Superintelligence Labs needs opt-in verifiable human data? What do you guys think? This guy's now an investor in Cled, so he's got an idea what they're doing. He knows the kind of frontier labs that they're working with. Do you think it's possible that Meta is going to sign a contract with Cled? Food for thought, guys.
I feel like we've talked about the possibility of Meta signing with them before. Have we?
Well, the possibility just went up a shit ton by bringing on their engineering lead. And I think there's a good likely chance Meta has invested in data from Cled or signed a contract there. So take that what you will. They have a token trading on chain. They just basically announced, of course, well, $1 million in buybacks, number one. But number two, that the token's going to be a pivotal role, and this is going to continue to happen with more contracts. And the token's going to play a pivotal role.
Oh, shoot. Frank Egods is also just retweeted a long form thesis on Cled.
Yeah, we're gonna read that. We're doing the Cled piece here. I might as well. And Cled's sitting at $22 million. Here, let's get into that in a second. Let me just pull up something here. I'm gonna go into my Telegram and see if I have a picture of the box I marked up on Cled, because we've been bottom ticking Cled quite a bit. Whatever. Actually, it's not important. I don't need to do that. Don't need to do that. Thank you, GG's Ave. GG's Crypto Jones. I mean, I'm sure you have a position in this as well. But so yeah, Cled's looking really good. So with that being said, massive updates from Cled. They've just announced the token's going to be basically, used for $1 million of buybacks is going towards the token. And Cled will ultimately become a fully viable reward currency for our data marketplace and human in the loop fraud detection. So they're building Cled into the system. Like, Cled should scale with the growth of the company. And if we're doing $1 million of buybacks, of course, well, number one, they're profitable. They have revenue. They have enough revenue to do $1 million of buybacks, and it assumes that they'll continue to do this. So shout out Avi.
Shout out the boy.
Avi. The people. Oh my gosh, I got to make this tweet. Everybody screamed at Avi, said he was a grifter, said he was a LARP. He was the only person from the ICM meta that's going to come on here and do $1 million of buybacks and build a real company. He's the only person that's going to build a unicorn company. The one person that the entire timeline of crypto screamed and called a scammer and said, we don't like the advisors you put on. Cled is a LARP. There's nothing here. The one guy they did that to is the only person that's building a unicorn company and iterating still to this day on the ICM token that they promised.
Crazy.
This is why you don't listen to Twitter. This is why you listen to MCG. Okay. Simple as that. This is why you listen to JLTRD. This is why you listen to Narodom. This is why you occasionally listen to Josh.
That's crazy.
No, I'm playing.
Shout out the boy.
but yeah, so don't listen to Twitter. This I think is a great message and story in and of itself. But nonetheless, let's read this Cled thesis. Cled is at $21 million right now. Jeez. You said Frank reposted it?
Yeah, I can send the link if you need.
I'm gonna pull up Mr. D Gods now. I saw a couple long forwards. Okay. Oh yeah. The Cled investment thesis, long form, TLDR, and let me see how long this is, because if it's too long form,
you can. Yeah, it's probably pretty long.
Yeah, I can skim it.
You can do the Grok summary too.
Yeah, let's see. Summarize. All right. As this works on the summary, I'm gonna read that. Okay. Let me read the TLDR, because luckily that's what TLDR, they give us a summary right here at the top. The TLDR from this article: Cled on Solana presents the cleanest on-chain bet on the current arms race going to between the US-based frontier AI labs. Cled is the largest opt-in human data collection. Cled pays its users to upload their data assets and sells data to AI labs. It already found product market fit with 300,000 iOS users and Sublime App Store ratings in Asia and the US. In 2026, Cled raised $10 million, of which the latest came in at $280 million equity valuation. In addition, Cled pledged up to 10% of its equity to a special purpose vehicle managed by Street Foundation. Yep. Cled's upcoming V3 app upgrade will include full gamified data experience, fueling Cled buyback and potential for exponential growth, interaction, and token price. In Cled's new post, V3 Tokenomics, there are multiple pathways for value accrual to the token, uncorrelated to the usual crypto market drivers. In this piece, I argue that Cled at current prices presents a deep value opportunity of 600% upside and limited downside. Actually, I think I retweeted this. During the mania. No, I didn't. I'll retweet it then.
Well, I was about to say, about time. Time for the retweet.
Let me do so. Let's skim it. I guess I'm not. Yeah, nothing here in the summary that the TLDR didn't cover. Background, we know about the background. Cled has already found product market fit. It came in the top 100 in the App Store and finance rankings in 82 countries in 2026. Damn. Top 182 countries in 2026. It even hit number 1 in the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia. That's crazy. In 2026, Cled raised $7 million. We now know that this is up to 14. So this is even a bit dated. Excuse me. Yeah. Yeah, this one, I think this talks about the Android curve. Okay, Cled J curve. This is what the big thing is. Yeah, Avi might have just started the real ICM bull. Let's go. Go ping Avi. Go ping Avi. I got to chat with him. He hasn't responded to me. He should be on MCG. This is what's important though. Cled has been this successful only on iPhone. Once they open up Android, do you understand how many people are going to start using and uploading to this? It's going to be insane. Like, they've been holding off for a reason. They don't need this much data. And once they unlock this, there's going to be so much supply. This is very important for their new friend here, who's going to help them connect with big AI labs and sell the right data to the right people, because they're going to have so much coming in from Android. So what's happened before they released Android, which is now coming, I think he hinted at that in one of his recent posts, potentially, is what we did before this was set up the data verification layer. Okay, now we partner with data. All data is verifiable on chain. Okay, these big AI labs, they can now know what they're licensing. They now know people have been paid for this data. Check. Okay. Number 2, start getting these contracts, start getting some traction. They just signed a $12 million contract. Check. Number 3, have all the data, right? They have a ton of users, all the data source. Now, number 4, they bring on this new guy to help them source the right frontier labs. And number 5, let's open up to Android now so we can just get a massive influx and do this at scale. I think this is step 1 we're seeing. This is step 1 in a very big picture here. So this is the J curve that we're going to see, I think, with Android. I do agree with this guy's thesis. Yep, Scale. Let's talk about this, because competitors have raised a ton of money. Scale AI, data labeling for LLMs. Latest valuation at $29 billion. It took 3 years to become a unicorn. This is how fast these things are moving, guys. Their valuation is $29 billion, and it took them 3 years to become a unicorn. They just do data labeling. That's what they do. Data labeling. Network effects, more labelers, more and faster labeled data, better performing models, higher quality outputs at lower cost, attracts more enterprise demand, funds higher payouts for tooling, attracts more labelers, repeat the loop. Their latest valuation was about $30 billion. In 3 years, they became a unicorn. Okay, Mercor, complex data sourcing for AI, network effects, more high quality experts, richer and more specialized data, higher value and use case for AI customers, stronger payout and reputation experts, refer to blah, blah, blah. Latest valuation, $10 billion. Time to unicorn of 1.5 years. Do you get it? The leaders in the data space are unicorn billion-dollar companies within 3 years. Mercor within 1.5 years. It's been a year for Cled, right? It's been a year. Cled's been around for a year. While these companies have different business models than Cled, they rely on similar viral flywheel driven by positive feedback loops, incentivizing users, increasing the value that the company provides, which in the turn, future increases value for users. These companies reach unicorn status within a few years through exponential feedback loops similar to Cled. Ding, 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 ding. Been saying this. Cled's founder, Avi, and the team have demonstrated a clear ability to execute on the vision. We already saw an early glimpse of what could happen once fraud detection systems goes live. When Cled achieves a clear product market fit and reaches 300,000 users within 6 weeks of launching its iOS, if Cled executes on the blockers outlined above, the liftoff phase in the J curve could materialize quickly with a clear path towards raising in the next equity round a valuation of 750. We know Avi's come out here and said my next round is going to be $750 million by the end of 2026. He said this 3x from the last round. The VCs and angels who invested in March 2026 are positioned for this exponential growth. Token holders have yet to see it. Cled's piece of the pie, blah, blah. We talked about this. Gamification of Cled buybacks. The upcoming V3 upgrade transforms Cled into a fully gamified platform built around a leveling system that gates access to higher paying data tasks. This means the best paying data tasks and the most proven go to the most proven contributors. To select those contributors, V3 introduces a commitment mechanism. Contributors that can convert their earned cash balance from previous data tasks into XP to level up. That cash is forfeited. In return, they unlock significantly higher payout tasks. A user who gives up $20 of their balance to XP gains access to tasks paying up to $150 per completion, with some reaching $1,000. Every $1 forfeited in-app triggers a market buy of $1 worth of Cled. Of that, 50% is burned and 50% is held as bot supply, creating consistent usage-driven demand tied directly to user growth and engagement. If user number scales and the high rewards are available for users, locking only 1,500 Cled, around $20, could already result in a meaningful portion of supply, 20%, being taken off the market. Again, which makes the value that you hold on chain more valuable. Again, the 5 to 10% equity that's on chain goes up when the token's bought back and burned. Revenue buybacks of Cled. On top of the gamification, there's additional buyback mechanism. Cled has 2 types of paying customers. 1, bulk data subscribers, where AI labs subscribe to ongoing weekly inflow of broad data assets. And 2, enterprise contracts, where AI labs request very specific data sets to be collected by Cled users. The current Cled enterprise contract pipeline is 50 million. I think this is 100 million. Last I heard, I think Avi even mentioned 100. It's 100 million by now. A portion of the revenue from enterprise contracts will be used for discretionary buybacks of the Cled token. So there are discretionary buybacks. First movie, blah, blah, blah. Liquidity premium. Yes, this is important. There should be a premium on the token since it represents equity. And it's always better to have a liquid version of that. Putting it all together. Yeah. He's got a bunch of charts. Give this a read. I mean, give this a read. I don't want to sit here and go crazy. Oh, didn't even realize Chill left. I was just soloing it. But yeah, so that's the read on Cled, man. I mean, it just looks good. I'm happy to see this.
Nah, dude, well. you were going crazy, bro. So for the sake of the clip, I wanted a Dom focused clip on Cled.
This guy,
like
content brain.
Always thinking about the content, bro.
Got to.
I actually got a couple ideas about that once we get off stream.
Okay.
But yeah, no. Cled is doing amazing, bro. Cled is doing amazing. What was there? Anything that you wanted to get to specifically? I had a couple things, but you let me know what you want to jump to.
No, I would say cards revenue is down. So obviously you guys know I'm a big cards bull, and I do want to add more to my entry. If this could ever load, I could show you the chart and what I'm talking about.
La di da di da di da.
Do. Yeah, so it's I look at the Cled or the cards chart, and it seems like it's starting to roll over again. Been a big cards component, and by the way, revenue meta in full steam. Can we just say that? Revenue meta in full steam. Cards doing a lot of revenue. Reprices 6, 7, 8, 900% from when we talked about it when we had them on stream. Cled doing real revenue. Repriced at $22 million from $7 million 2 days ago. Backpack doing real revenue. Repriced from 40 million to 170 million. Meteor repriced from 55 million to 85 million. JTO is pricing in the JTX revenues that it's going to do. Grass has been pumping off the revenue meta. Jupiter is one of the leaders right now off the revenue meta. Go down the risk curve. I have an entire list of things that we've talked about that are doing a lot of revenue. I think pump funds lagging. Of course, revenue is decreasing for them, so it's a little hard to do multiple projections on that. We're in the revenue meta is what I'm trying to say. So buy the revenue tokens. Cards, however, has had such good revenue, and the token has repriced quite a bit, I think, based on that. Revenue is on the downswing for the last couple days. Now, of course, ebbs and flows. This is expected. But I think with the revenue kind of decreasing, and we're not seeing everyone posting all these Blockworks charts of brand new all-time highs day after day in revenue. And we see, of course, Arthur Hayes' family office literally at the Pico top starts bull posting.
You called it.
cards.
You called it on stream earlier this week. You're like, oh, not Arthur Hayes. And then we talked about this on stream where I'm like, look, I'm obviously we're all bullish on cards. They have a thriving business and a thriving narrative, and I think the sector of TCG is still pretty early in terms of how frothy things can get. But cards is about to hit a new all-time high. Arthur Hayes is now jumping on board. A pullback could be in the works here. Could be in the works. I mean, this has been up only since April. You know what I mean? Like a pullback could be in the works. It might not be as deep of a pullback, or might not last as long, right? Like, so set some limits and stuff like that. Have some points of some areas of interest. So have your target ready. But yeah, I mean, still bullish, but I think a pullback is reasonable here, bro.
For sure. I mean, also note the price action here, right? We get these pumps up to all-time highs. Look at some of the selling happening. Right? Supply is starting to come in here. There is supply overhang. Also, that's another issue, is supply overhang. People are really worried about the unlocks that are coming. And I think, fear is going to fuel this to go a little bit lower. Now, the ball knowers know.
Oh my God, Gito. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. And the ball knowers know that even at the FDV with current revenues is still undervalued in terms of price to earnings. So even the unlocks are really not even a big deal for this. But with all that said, revenues decreasing the last couple of days. It was consensus on Twitter. I think this kind of gets a little bit of a cool off, and I would love to get it sub 50 million, right? So if we go down another 30% from here, I'm like probably going to be slamming. I don't even know if we get that. That's like being really, really conservative with my entry. I think even if we get down another 15, 20%, you're looking good. So I have a DCA that'll probably open up down in, this range with more fills happening in this zone. So that's how I'm looking at cards. But let's jump over to Gito, because that is ripping. And again, I just don't think this
all-time highs in sight. Man, I didn't get an entry on this because I was looking for an SFP. I did mark out the FVG on the 1 day. On the daily, like, see that second to last discovery candle. There's that fair value gap right there. And right there.
Talking about here?
Yeah, right there. And that fair value gap goes all the way. It goes all the way up to I think it's like 70 cents almost. But that was a huge area. But it was such a big zone. It was such a big fair value gap. I'm like, man, like I don't know. I want to see like an SFP to help me get better risk reward. And the dips, all dips were eaten. All.
Yeah. I was in the same boat. I missed by a hair on my chin. You can see the alert I have right here on the chart. But I was looking as well for that.
Oh, dang.
Fair value gap to finish closing.
I didn't even look at the 8 hour. The 8 hour definitely did have an SFP on it though. Ooh, I didn't even see that. I was looking. So I like to look at daily, 4 hour, and then maybe 30 minutes, 15 minutes if I need to go that low. But yeah, daily for bias, and then usually 4 hours, like low key where I look for some of these SFPs and stuff. But I guess 8 hour was where it formed. I didn't see that.
Yeah, the issue here is this is $425 million in market cap. Now, again, if you want to compare this to Hyperliquid, assuming like that's kind of the competitor here, the market share you're looking to eat into, yes, still relatively cheap. This is $424 million though, with no revenue yet coming from their perp platform. We might get a sell the news event at this rate because it's getting bull posted hard by Ansem. I think if Ansem wasn't bull posting this, I think we probably are down and filling that area that Chill and I were watching. So I don't know, man.
Ansem's
It's hard
super
to
active,
justify.
huh?
Ansem's super active. I mean, he's in that mode, dude. In that mode.
Hey, don't blame him. This is about that time.
It certainly is.
Let's see what else. Honestly, like there haven't been much, like some marginal moves. Yeah, like the Cludes. We
I mean,
had
this one's just slow grinding though.
yeah.
And I will say, you guys saw some of the recent earnings on MU, and the hot narrative right now in traditional finance is memory. Like that's what's really hot traditional finance AI right now. It's memory systems, and we're seeing those raises happen at very high valuations. Again, Clue did mention they were looking to raise at some point. So assuming that this gets an ace round and they go through with the raise, they're working with governments in Singapore. This is still really, really cheap at 3.2.
So they haven't announced ace. They haven't announced ace yet, an ace round yet. Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm still looking for this to kind of like. I still need 1.5, bro. We've been waiting. We've been calling.
I don't think we get it.
Calling on that, waiting on that for a while. Maybe we get it. Maybe we don't.
I think if you just anything in this range, man, I think is pretty significant here. Like sub 2.5, to be honest. I don't think we get 1.5. I love it.
I'll be happy with 2. I'll be happy with 2. If I can get a pullback to 2, I'll be happy to get more. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but again, watch it. This is the hottest narrative right now. These companies in traditional finance are raising at many, many billions of dollars. They're raising tens, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars to build out memory systems. Clued is doing this at a high level with the government of Singapore, and it's considering an ace round. They mentioned fundraising last time we talked to them. It's trading at 3.2 million. Again, sure, the dip wasn't very strong, but there's little to no supply. Like sellers are just not interested in selling, and so
they're really not. Opal also breaking out of the downtrend, or like almost.
Yeah, almost looks like a potentially good entry then, huh?
Yeah, this is perfect, and then too, it's when you look at the fibs, when you look at the fibs on Opal, I think that's like 0.786 bounce off of. So.
I mean, what are you measuring from? Bottom of this range or this last leg right here? This last little push.
This last leg right there. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, 786 right there for you 786 enjoyers.
Yeah, so. clean setup. Zero looking good after yesterday's pullback. Yes, it is. Crypto Jones, in the Discord, like I don't know if you saw it, but like it was kind of like I don't know. Trying to figure out.
There was a lot of people who are giving pushback to this.
Yeah.
Some people say it's not viable. In theory, it sounds good, but it doesn't actually work. And I guess we have to see it working to be confident on that note. But I don't know.
The FUD that I saw was. Again, I don't know if this for fact. I'm just saying what the FUD is. Apparently he was on FOMO, had supply on FOMO, sent it to another wallet off of FOMO, and I guess price has been down only since.
Did he dump it?
So that's the question. The other thing is apparently he's done rugs in the past, or at least that's what's speculated. Anyway, again, I can't confirm this. I don't know for sure. Like I have no idea, but just researching with the boys.
Specifically towards the end of our interview, if he's had a background in crypto, what was his answer?
Remember, he said he's been in crypto for a while, right? Like he was invested. Remember, he said his uncle was invested, back in like 2013. Then like I think he said, I don't know if it was like 2020 or something like that. He started to like just invest marginally in some high cap stuff, but then he said like he fully got into crypto back in like 2024 pump fund era. That's what I'm realizing, man. A lot of people, their exposure to on chain started with pump fund. Like no one knows like ETH OG days. Like if you were trenching on ETH, like you are officially an OG, and like those days will never come back. But yeah, I mean that's where he got to start, and I mean, so he's definitely familiar. He's not like a never seen crypto before kind of guy. He's been around it for a while, so. But I just there's no way to verify this stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Maybe if I were to sleuth on his FOMO wallet to see where funds were sent and what was done and all that stuff. But I mean, in my opinion, why even go through all the hoops of finding out this stuff when I can just buy Chris There you go. There you go, Crypto Jones. Exactly. Why go through all those hoops when I can just buy a better setup? Yeah, if Leighton was going to rug, he would have done it earlier. Yeah, I would say so. I just don't like having questions and not answers. That's my thing. Like if I don't mind FUD, I love it. I think FUD is very important to building like a battle tested thesis around a project or an investment. You have a long-term investment, you want someone to FUD your project because I want to prove you wrong. But when you have questions and I don't have answers, that's where invalidation comes in, at least for me. I'm not going to go through, I'm not going to sleuth and go on chain and look at this wallet or that wallet. And I'm not going to do all that. I'm just going to look for a better setup, plain and simple. So I'm going to keep Zero on the watch list. I'm going to see how it shakes out. Typically when you have these pullbacks, like when we compared the Zero chart to the 3 chart the other day, when they partnered with IBM, chart went straight up, and then it went straight down right after. And oh my goodness, Ave, GG's, bro, I got fudded out of half my Squire bag sub 60K. My goodness. But yeah, man, I mean, we'll just I'll keep it on the watch list. I'm gonna see how things play out. Typically the FUD comes when you have these like big pullbacks, but I mean, off virtuals tweeting, off all the hype, off of all the FOMO buyers, not FOMO the app, like FOMO buyers, like emotional traders. Like after those guys come in and they typically get rinsed and stuff pulls back because they feel like they want instant gains. Those are typically the people that turn angry, that turn to FUDding. So sometimes you don't know if you can trust the information. That's why it's like, just make sure the information is right. Like, I don't know how to confirm or deny his history of rugging. I don't know. What happened to any funds on FOMO. Didn't even know he was on FOMO, if I'm being honest. So I'm just going to keep an eye on it, see how it shakes out. My gut feeling, this is probably it's all going to come down to the tech. It's all going to come down to, did he ship our new updates coming out? I think that's all it's going to come down to at the end of the day. I don't think all the other stuff matters. I mean, you got the surplus dev he sold and people are still bullish, right?
True. Surplus, by the way, one that's bounced very nicely.
Yeah, and that chart's doing really well. So
wrong surplus.
But yeah, like it's more about the communication with the community. Wow,
he dumped it. It I mean, made a good push. I mean, 7.2 it got to, which is only 3 million away from previous all-time highs, not even 2.5 mil. So
you got these huge
FUD.
And that's what happens, man. Like when stuff pulls back, all the FUD comes out. We see it happening on Solana. People are saying, oh man, they're getting KOLs to show Solana. Solana's a meme chain. It's a scammer chain. There's no innovation that happens on Solana. Meanwhile, we got all the stuff that we have. Same thing happened with surplus. Dev sold, scammer, et cetera, et cetera. FUD comes out until price, drives the narrative like it usually does.
Dolphin or Pod released V2, one we've had on the show before in the past. This was I think one of our stronger interviews. Very clear that they knew what they were doing here. Very high, very good demand, very good token model with 100% buybacks. They released V2 recently, and this is trending upwards. So, I mean, one to watch. Just again, out of all the base tokens, this one has been one of, if not the most resilient. So, if you're on base, you want to be watching this one. I mean, let's look at Serve, for example. Look at that pullback. Look at VVV. I think even given more of a pullback than not so bad. Not as bad as I thought. But Primus is one I want to keep eyes on, guys, man. And I'm kind of pissed it's hovering around this area so well, because I actually did want to fill an entry on Primus. But yeah, we had this massive pump, amps, and some like soft shield or bot or something like that. Got this massive pump, of course, massive dump following that. Came back into this general range here, barely accumulated, and it's like just accumulating vertically at this point. I wanted lower, didn't get it. This is one to watch, though. I think they're making pretty good progress. We know this compute market, the compute futures market, is a big conversation going on right now, and they actually have clients that are using it. So one to watch.
Were you a PC gamer, Dom, by any
Yeah.
chance?
I mean, yeah,
Okay,
briefly.
I can tell. I can tell. I can tell. Okay.
Why I got the flick.
Low key. I was like, ooh, that's gamer reflex right there. That's gamer
funny.
accuracy.
It's funny because I look at myself right now and it's so slow. Like opening new tabs and picking charts, I feel like move so slow. Back on TradingView, bro, I used to be a wizard. Boo, just charting up. You know those people that go on Excel and they're like wizards at Excel? That's how I used to feel on TradingView. I'm so slow now, but yeah, I used to game on my PC quite a bit.
Solid.
Let's give a base pump fun take here. Here's the issue with pump fun. What? Why are you laughing?
No, go ahead. Here's the issue with pump fun.
Sentiment is terrible. People just hate pump fun. There's the looming airdrop fears. There's the fears that they're shady and they're selling on the back end. They bought insider shares before. All this FUD around pump fun. They're still doing 450, 500K of buybacks per day. That's the truth. They're still trading at a 2.7 price to earnings ratio of one of the most profitable, fastest growing crypto businesses of all time. The issue is, and why this is not stretched, why this multiple is not 10, 20, 10, 15, 20, or like 100, something like JITO right now, JTO, is because their revenue is decreasing and people seem to be subscribing to the fear that Solana is shifting to not just a meme chain and pump funds revenue is never going to recover and pump funds revenue is going down. So you don't want to put multiples on top of it because it's decreasing. I think the revenues increase from here. Whether or not we get the pump fund revenues that we used to see back in the day, I'm not sure. Even if we don't, if revenues just increase from here, stay flat here, 2.7 price to earnings ratio is very cheap. If you go down here, I've got this marked up. They're doing $327 million annualized based on their last 30-day. They do 50% buys and burns. If you got down to $178 million, that would be even price to earnings ratio. They are earning as much and burning as much as they're earning in 1 year. Right now, we are a bit above that, right, at 2.7. I think we still do come lower as the market trends, but the closer we get to this number right here, the closer we get to pump fund being sub 200 million, the more you want to be interested in buying, because at some point, the airdrop's going to come, the overhang is going to be gone, people are going to realize that they're actually a cash cow, and sentiment's going to turn around. And when sentiment turns around, because volumes and revenues start going up, the pump token's going to follow you. So there's like a couple things here that turn this token around. Number one, sentiment gets better. They do an airdrop. People generally just start thinking pump fund's a good platform again. They keep making innovations around ACE. Sentiment improves, whatever, token starts going up because it is already a tight price to earnings. B, revenues increase. They're doing 450K in buybacks at the lowest point of revenues in like the history of pump fund. So this 450 jumps to what it was back in the bull market, and this 450 goes to 4.5 million per day. Token will also reprice and hence be undervalued. So if you believe any of these things are going to happen, pump is a very interesting bet here. I would not overlook it. This is one on my watch list. Again, I haven't marked that at the even price to earnings. That's a slam. That's a lock. But as we trend down, keep close eyes on sentiment, keep close eyes on market turning around, because if this starts picking up volume again, very quickly, this token becomes very underpriced. Do you have a take on pump fund, a read on this, Chill, because it's in the gutter?
Yeah, I'm viewing pump fund the same that I view plasma, right? Plasma was bad until it wasn't. You know, you had people, the entire timeline was flooding Plasma, talking about this and that and whatever. Plasma decides to put in a couple good daily candles, and all of a sudden people are like, yeah, Plasma's great, Plasma's this, Plasma's that, starting a new neobank narrative all over again. And you know, people's takes on it generally are more positive. So I'm thinking about Pump Fund in the same way I'm thinking about Plasma. You know, when price starts to turn around, and whether you want to say that's based on volumes or whatever, I'm telling you right now, Pump Fund, they're not going to let their token die. Now, what Pump Fund, I'm seeing that Pump Fund kind of wants to change their identity a little bit. I don't know, like they still want the memes and the token launches and stuff like that. Obviously, that it helps their business, but I'm seeing like you know, with their focus shifting to like ace rounds, they hired like legal counsel, or like they're looking to hire legal counsel. I think Alan put out a tweet about, you know, offering 1 to 5 million for legal counsel. I don't
Crazy.
know if you saw that. Um, Let me actually share my screen real quick, and I'll talk more about that. But yeah, at some point, you know, um, Pump Fund is going to come back, and the sentiment around Pump Fund will, you know, inevitably change. And yeah, here's the tweet here. We're hiring chief legal officer for Batten Corporation, built the fastest growing platform. And he said they have the ambitions to create a global consumer brand that tokenized the world's highest potential early stage ideas, right? So they're switching their focus from, oh, meme coins, meme coins, meme coins, to early stage startups. And remember, we are talking about this, Dom. Again, if a launchpad can do the 90-day stretch, then into an ownership model, like a token to equity model, like a bedrock or an ace round, like that would be the pathway for early stage ideas to bootstrap funding and community and traction via token launch, and then attach that into and walk that into an equity round later on, and then eventually get to the overall liquidity event that every startup is hunting for. So yeah, I see that Pump Fund is slowly starting to change their focus a little bit, and I like it. You know, it's you know, I think the general space will continue to hate Pump Fund for a while, but you know, once price starts to go up again, you're going to see the bull case come out. You're going to see the revenue numbers get highlighted again. You're going to see the PE ratios. You're going to see all this stuff, but it's just like XPL, man. It's bad until it's not anymore.
Right. Agreed. Now on that note, there is something similar to Pump Fund, but instead of going down in revenue is actually going up and trending in the right direction. It's one we've been banging the drums on. That's Meteora. You know what? Let's do
Bang bang.
I like to check this daily. Let me go to Blockworks. And let's just together check any updated revenues for Meteora, because we know we just showed earlier in the stream, Solana hit a new all-time high in tokenized equities volumes, daily volumes. And of course, we know Meteora is behind that and seeing a lot of the revenues coming from it. So let me see if, okay, in Blockworks, your search bar does not work. It's all right. I don't even need to search because I can just scroll down and find it, I believe. There we go. Okay. So I just like to see, is Meteora tracking with the revenue we're seeing come in from spot equities? So let's just go down here. Oh my gosh. Would you believe this? Again, my case becomes more strong. Again, was $17 million annualized about 12 days ago. Now they're at about 21 million. So they're up multiple millions in annualized revenue. Let's close this. All right. You guys see the trend. This is why I like Meteora a lot. And I'm not going to give the bull thesis again. 40 million in treasury, $21 million annualized, $14 million of buybacks, 4% of the token already. Growing revenues. they specifically benefit from equities coming on chain. And so I guess the thesis originally was, will Meteor benefit from equities coming on chain? Now we look at the revenue that's been correlated with equities overtaking meme coins on the Solana blockchain. And we see a trend here. We see a trend because despite Solana not really picking up, actually it's been down the last couple of days in terms of volumes because we see the market's pretty shit. Look what's happening here for Meteor. I mean, revenue the entire week has been trending up. And just yesterday on the 25th, we got a new all-time high. Meteor did 100K in revenue. I say new all-time high on like, the last couple months, monthly chart. Yeah. Based on the last couple months. Of course, they had all-time highs back in Trump of like $12 million a day. Jeez Louise. $12 million a week they made in 1 week. But look at the trend. So again, this confirms the thesis that Meteora is going to facilitate majority of the volume that comes through the equities, which has increased their annualized revenue, which is growing. And we can see meaningfully every day this is growing as that scales. And today, of course, we got a new record for Solana tokenized spot equity volume. 100K today. Tomorrow's probably even more than this. Meteor is doing good. Meteor is doing real good. Let me go and see if that has updated in their investor relations portal. I want to see how much this is updating in real time. So bear with me while I do this as well, boys. All right. Boo, boo, boo.
Met feels like a 10 to 20 year trade. I say give it 12 months, kid. I say give it 12 months. Not even 6 to 12. You like Met is the Meteora is the liquidity layer on Solana. They enable literally they have their hands in literally everything. It's only a matter of time. Actually, in many ways, feels like Meteor and MCG are in a similar. Yeah.
Look at that.
There you go. Boom. There you go.
Oh, treasury balance is down. I wonder why. I wonder if what they spent this on, or maybe they just had their like monthly spending that they had to account for. Interesting. 18 million USD, 6.51 million. Okay. Nonetheless, revenues are growing. Didn't expect that though. I have to see what that was spent on. Treasury wallets. Let's see. And of course, we're about to get the next quarterly report coming out of Meteor shortly, or at least monthly report. So that'll give some clarity on this. All right, we'll let this load. But yeah, I again, talk about the thesis. Bullish pump fun, especially if revenues kind of turn around. I would, maybe wait for a better entry. Meteor, I think, is a good entry, like right now. And again, I'll tab back over this. This chart looks fantastic. $85 million market cap. Revenues increasing. They did 100K yesterday. They probably do 100 plus K today as well. Daily revenues. So that's the thesis on Meteora. Let me, again, I want to get some clarity on if we can figure out where some of this money went to. And my Jupiter's not loading. Everything's breaking today. Nonetheless, they spent some money from the treasury. This might have just gone towards business expenses. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll have to figure that out shortly or at some point. But, oh, did it load? Okay, good. Yeah, so USDC, this has dropped down. Can we see where, I want to see this wallet. No, not USDC. I want to see where the money went. Oh, it's broken up between a bunch of wallets. This is going to take some detective sleuthing that I'm not willing to do right now. But, all right, whatever. You guys got the thesis. Chill, any thesis you want to run over? Because I've been hogging the mic here.
No, I'm literally just letting you riff, bro. You've been going crazy. I mean, just the main stuff, man. I'm keeping it simple. I'm keeping it simple, man. I'm seeing EZA is kind of still holding on to some attention. So kind of position there. Yeah, not much. You have the Opals, the Squire, the Clued. We talked about those. A couple rugs today. Zera rugged.
Zero rug.
Either. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Base chain is down. They push back their B20 listings, their B20 activation because base has been down.
Oh,
I don't know
that's
if you
right.
guys saw that yesterday live on stream. Their chain went down for about like 2 hours or a few hours or something. And then
Solana
today
on
it was
top.
down again for another hour. Remember, all I'm saying is everyone was clowning Solana when Solana's chain went down. Everyone was clowning Solana. We've seen so far. I mean, I'm not trying to like FUD base or anything like that, but you're down now. We saw that AWS shutting down affected affected activity on base at one point. Yeah, man. So Abe, how's Circle stock looking? Let's take a look. Let's take a look.
I remember A was a big circle bull.
Yeah. Hood, Circle, the whole nine. All
Of
right,
course,
here's
Josh really likes Galaxy, which has been doing phenomenal. Or at least last I checked, it was here. You want to pull it up or? Oh, you got it. Perfect.
yeah, Circle. Let's take a look. Ooh. All right, let's look high time frame on this one real quick. Because this one lost its recent low. Let's it broke out. Let's see, broke out of the downtrend. Had a nice little it's a nice little bullish order block here. I wonder why it dipped this hard. I mean, I guess stock market overall is dipping pretty heavily these last few days or this whole week.
Oh yeah, big.
But yeah, I'd look for I'd look for something below closer to $60. Like the thing on the chart for some of these stocks is like there's this like price gap, and I don't know how to like view that. Like I like is this technically a fair value gap or like what is that exactly?
That was just, I mean, what day was that? Was that market close and then just opened a gap up?
Yeah. So
just think about like a candle. This is all. Yeah, you're right. Lots of these charts are gonna be spotty because there's all these different fractionalized brokers and price feeds and oracles are different. It's you just gotta take
it's a little different,
wider,
a little
approach.
different. But we are in this like fair value gap right here. So actually, this might not be a bad spot. Let me check the fib. Let me check the fib real quick, Ave, and I'll tell you right now. This is OTE. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, this is a nice little spot right here. This probably bounces from here. This probably does something like that. Little consolidation and then bang, bounce. Fair value gap in the discount at the 0.786. This is a key level. We talk about it all the time. Fib on a high time frame as well. This is a weekly fair value gap. So yeah, that looks good. I wonder how Robinhood is looking. Let me see here. Yeah, Robinhood still waiting to see what Robinhood does here. We had this. Yeah, both are in some pretty key.
So on Circle's valued at about 17 to 22 billion.
17 to 22 billion.
On the Circle topic, it is valued at 17 to 22 billion. Let's see their revenues. Of course, public company, they have to report these. Circle's revenue primarily comes from interest.
Any updates on what Damon and Josh have been cooking up? Yeah, we'll get some updates for you.
Quarterly highlights. They did $770 million in Q4 2025, which is 77% year-on-year growth. Q3 2025, $740 million. They're doing pretty good revenue. We know stablecoins are booming.
Dude, they're Coinbase is the #1 exchange, and they're so deep in the regulatory body You know, they have their hands deep in everything. So if you think that crypto as an industry, crypto as an asset class, excuse me, is bullish. If you're bullish on their future, then you're bullish Coinbase. Coinbase is literally like the number one beta to crypto growth over the next like 5 to 10 years. I mean, granted, will there be other exchanges that rival them? You know, the Krakens of the world, the crypto.coms, the Geminis or whoever else is out there. Yeah, there's going to be competition, but they have an L2, they have recurring revenue, they have institutional offerings that are being used. They have, it's Coinbase, bro. They've been in the space the longest. They have the brand, they have the longevity. Circle is bullish. I don't care what the price is doing.
Stable coins are just huge. Stable coins are just huge and booming. Q3 2025 reported 740 million total revenue and reserve income, 740 million just that quarter. And of course, we're growing based on the reports I'm looking at. $770 million Q4 2025. So 2026, assuming their Q1 and Q2 numbers have grown, and I'm sure they have with how much stablecoins have been booming, we're getting closer to $1 billion a quarter. I mean, if they're doing close to $4 billion a year,
that's not including base chain revenue, right?
No, this is just including this is nothing to do with, I mean, it has something to do with Coinbase. This is just stables, I believe. But I'm not entirely sure. Either way, whether stables or not, that's what the growth's going to come from, is stables. So they're probably doing $700 to $800 billion a quarter right now. Call it $3.2 billion a year, trading at 17 billion market cap.
Yeah.
That's
bullish.
That's a six price to earnings ratio on a fucking insanely fast growing asset. I would say Circle is probably a damn good trade. I think that's really, really too compressed for Circle. I got to look more into it. I haven't really crunched the numbers like I just did now, and I haven't dove deep into it. But based on top line, what I'm seeing, I don't know what
literally
their margins
in a
are
nice
either.
area.
I don't know.
Literally in a nice area.
Yeah.
I want to address this question here from Ave. How are you guys preparing if the stock market pulls back? Let's take a look at the SPY real quick.
I actually am not preparing. I think stock market is overheated. I do think these intraday dips, or these dips in the stock market, will cause intraday dips on crypto, but I still stick to the notion that we're pretty close to a bottom on crypto. And I actually think stock market going down, which seems against everything you would believe, but stock market going down is actually bullish crypto, because people are going to rotate to whatever is hot. We saw it with AI. We saw like the gambling mentality that's come to the stock market in the last couple of years of volatility. People will go towards volatility. And I think if the stock market's not performing, the next place people will jump is the sector that is performing. And I think it's due. Number one, crypto's due. We're in a great spot, and there are some strong charts in crypto. And I think people will see meaningful rotation to crypto. So I actually think preparing for a stock market dip is positioning in crypto a bit, which sounds counterintuitive, I know, but I'm not too worried about it. It will cause intraday dips though.
Stock summer top is still equaling a crypto summer bottom, in my opinion. I think Bitcoin front ran the dip here in the stock market. I'm going to mark off a couple dates: April 2025, March 2026, and then June 2026. Let's take a look real quick. Let's take a look. So let's do April 2025. April 2025. And then we'll do March 2026. March 2026. If you notice, both, like literally when the stock market was selling off, we front ran all of that. Same thing we're doing here. We front ran all of the selling off that happened in the stock market. So I think, now that selling is at its peak, in my opinion, for crypto, at this point, it's gonna get time for, like Dom said, a rotation. You've made a ton of money in the stock. I mean, think about where these stock market traders and investors, what position they're in. You've made money over the last 6 months, 8 months, however long. We've come on these streams day after day. Stock market is hitting a new all-time high. You've made all your money in stocks, And if stocks are rolling over, what's your next trade? Crypto's bottom. Everything is smashed down. And you have, again, all of these narratives that have been building up fuel over the last several months. The on-chain startups narrative, the stock tokenization and all the protocols powering that. You have AI. Privacy is another big one. And then you have the AI crypto crossover. You have the AI privacy crossover. You have the stablecoin narrative. You have the tokenization narrative. So yeah, I think that there's going to be a massive rotation, and we already see a lot of people, they have their picks out, but what my bullish thing, that's bullish Met. Everyone is picking, they're bullish hype, they're bullish near, they're bullish Zek, they're bullish grass, Jupiter, Jito. Like very, very few people are bullish Met. Very, very few. And what I'm telling you is we're in a very this is probably one of the most like best R&R plays from a large cap perspective. Like of all the large caps, I think this has the best R&R to date. Like very limited downside, but like some massive upside because they're, again, have their hands in everything. So yeah.
We're in a good spot, man. We're in a good spot. Any updates on Damon and Josh? Look, this is Josh's project. It's good. He's on it. I'm not sure. We're looking for feedback. So like, if you guys want to come contribute, if you're a developer, if you want to add feedback, help train the model, help train the data, feel free to do so. I want to make it a great product. I think MCG at some point is going to turn into something with multiple products, whether it's data products, just products that are valuable. Some public good, maybe some monetizable. It's obviously the future we go in. This is just a start, and more so of a test. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we have any updates on that, but the product's going to be pretty cool. I think we just need to refine it a lot. I don't think it actually is something I would visit and use today, to be frank with you guys. I think it's good for like Pumpcade and some very hand specific ones that we like uploaded a lot of data to and refined, but it needs to be more automated. So we still got some work to do with it, which is why like I don't know, maybe not ready to push it live fully myself, but no real updates. But we definitely want to fix it, make it better, iterate around it. It's not broken, but so give any feedback you want, anything you want to see, any products you want to see us build. Like we can work with Damon on building these products, or at least give it our best shot or some shot. So no real updates. Talk to Josh about that though. He'll be able to give you more info when he comes back.
Yeah, hit him up in the Discord. Tag him in the Discord, and ask him. Ave, awesome guys. Thank you. Yeah, for sure, bro. Anytime. Yeah, stock market looks like it's rolling over. We'll see what happens for crypto in the summer. Still holding on to summer bottom. I think that's the stream for the week, guys. We're at 3 hours. We got about 700 of us in here watching the stream. We appreciate all of you for showing up on the daily. Look, it's been a road. It's been a road, and we're so appreciative for your love and your support. So next week, reminder, we have the Easy A Investor Day Spotlight on Monday. That's going to be an absolutely massive show. Got like 10 projects, some of the top ones from the ecosystem. So excited to dig into those and to see what they're building and see what their vision is, why they chose Easy A, stuff like that. So tap in on Monday. Tuesday, we have PokerX on Tuesday. Wednesday, we'll get Repo, the guys from Repo back on, and then PRVX as well. So a couple good projects next week. We were supposed to take a full break, but at your request, we're gonna at least the first part of the week, we're gonna load up some good quality streams for you guys, get some good guests on, and we'll go from there. Last thing is we gotta do the housekeeping. Last thing. I want you to do two things before we end the stream today. Go to @MCG Live on Twitter. Make crypto great. LOL. Make sure you're following the account first and foremost. Make sure you're following the account. Scroll down, and I know that we're concluding the stream, but still go to our pinned tweet, hit like, and then hit retweet. Get it out to the homies. Let them know that we just did a fantastic stream, and they'll be able to go back and rewind and watch all of that. We'll have everything out as far as schedule wise over the weekend. If you guys have any questions, you want to give us some feedback, or you just want to thank us for what we're doing, hit us up in the Discord. Happy to have you and get to know you guys on a more personal level. But that's MCG this week. It's been a week.
It's been a week. It's been a damn week. That's for sure. It's been a week. It's been a month. It's been a year. We are
MCG on top, bro. I can't say it enough. We've been growing at an insane pace. We have one of the best communities in crypto. I mean, you guys have been super supportive, and just can't wait to see what happens this summer, man. I mean, crypto bottom, MCG on top. You feel me?
Sheesh. All right, y'all boys.
GG's. See y'all on the timeline. See you on the Discord. Deuces.